What if the past we think we know is only a shadow of what really existed, hidden beneath stone, buried in silence, and preserved in obsidian, bronze, and ancient clay? There are mysteries that refuse to be forgotten. Tonight, we'll wander through 23 strange, eerie, and fascinating artifacts and archaeological sites, places where the past speaks softly, but insistently, to anyone who will listen. Before we begin, take a deep breath, let your mind slow, and get ready to drift gently through worlds long gone. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss what comes next. The footprint threshold of Aindara. Close your eyes, take a slow breath, and allow yourself to drift into the quiet, ancient past. Far in northern Syria, where hills rolled gently into valleys, there once stood a temple. Its stones, weathered by centuries, carried the weight of something mysterious. And right at the very entrance, carved into the threshold, were not ordinary decorations, not floral patterns, not animals, but two enormous footprints. Footprints so large that even the tallest person today could stand inside them and still feel small. The Aindara Temple, as archaeologists call it, dates back more than 3,000 years. Its walls once rose proudly above the plain, built of massive basalt blocks, decorated with lions, sphinxes, and intricate carvings. It was a house of the gods. But these carved footprints at its doorway, they whisper of something else, something unsettling, something that suggests a presence far larger than human. Imagine approaching the temple in those times. The air heavy with the smoke of incense, the scent of burning cedar and sweet oils drifting in the breeze. Priests dressed in long robes chanting softly. The stone pathway worn smooth by generations of pilgrims. And then as you climb the steps you see them, the giant footprints, cut into the very threshold where you must walk. Each one measuring nearly a meter long, each one positioned as though a massive being had stepped across the entrance before you. The ancients did not carve things by accident. Every mark carried meaning. So, what did these footprints mean? Some scholars say they marked the presence of Ishtar, the goddess of fertility and war. Others claim they represent a god far larger, far more powerful, a being who could stride into the temple and fill it with divine energy. Perhaps to the people of Aindara, these footprints were proof that the gods themselves had walked here, leaving behind their imprints in stone. But let your mind drift further. What if these were not symbolic at all? What if these were not symbolic at all? What if in the distant mist of time, when myths and history still intertwined, someone, or something, of enormous size truly did walk here? The scale is unsettling. A being 3 times taller than an ordinary human, striding casually across the threshold. A titan in flesh. The temple itself supports this aura of mystery. Its layout mirrors the great Temple of Solomon in Jerusalem, though built centuries earlier. Scholars have debated whether Aindara influenced Solomon's builders, or whether both drew from an even older, forgotten source. The walls were once decorated with lions and sphinxes, symbols of power and protection. The very stones still echo with the weight of ritual. And yet the footprints overshadow it all. Close your eyes again and picture them. The first print placed at the doorway, as though one foot pressed down, pausing for a moment. The second, further inside, on the floor of the inner hall, as if the giant being took a step forward into the sacred chamber. And beyond that, nothing. The trail ends. No more prints. As if the entity walked into the holy darkness of the temple and vanished. Did the priests believe that gods materialized, leaving only faint traces of their presence? Or were the carvings intended to remind worshippers that the space they entered did not belong to mortals, but to giants, to immortals, to beings beyond comprehension? The carving of feet is itself strange. Many temples use eyes, hands, or animal symbols. Feet, however, are intimate. They suggest touch, weight, movement. They suggest reality. A god who leaves a footprint is a god who walks, not a distant spirit, but one who treads upon the earth. And so, as night falls around you, let yourself imagine walking barefoot along the basalt floor, the stone cool beneath your feet, the air filled with the echo of your own steps, and then you pause, and you look down, and you realize your foot rests inside the carved outline of another, a footprint so vast it swallows your own. A shiver runs through you. You are not alone here. Some researchers have even noted how the positioning of the prints suggests motion. The distance between them implies a stride longer than any human could make. This was intentional. Whoever carved them wanted to show not just presence but movement. A giant entering, a divine arrival, a visitation frozen forever in stone. But the story of Aindara grows even darker when we remember the present. The temple was heavily damaged in recent years, its stones shattered by war. Much of what once stood has collapsed, yet the memory remains. Photographs, drawings, and fragments preserve the strange footprints, as if, even when the walls fall, the steps of the gods remain eternal. Now imagine standing at that doorway in silence, the desert winds sighing around you, the mountains in the distance turning purple in the fading light. And there, beneath your feet, carved into the living rock, those footprints, waiting for the return of their owner, waiting for the day when the gods walk again. Perhaps it was only ritual. Perhaps it was a symbol meant to humble worshippers as they crossed into the sacred space. But perhaps it was more. Perhaps long ago, before stories became myth, before myth became history, beings of giant stature roamed the earth, and the people of Aindara, instead of hiding this truth, preserved it carefully in stone. And as you let that thought linger, allow yourself to breathe deeply, slowly, letting the weight of those giant footsteps press gently into your imagination. Let them lull you into the vast silence of antiquity, a world where gods left footprints in stone, a world now gone, a world where mystery walks softly, just beyond the edges of our understanding, the colossal sea cairn of Galilee. Close your eyes and imagine the quiet surface of the Sea of Galilee. The water shimmers beneath the soft sun, rippling gently as a breeze glides across it. On the horizon, hills rise with a timeless stillness, and the air is filled only with the distant calls of birds. Beneath this calm surface, hidden in the dark waters below, lies something few people have ever heard of, something massive, mysterious, and ancient. It is called the Sea Cairn of Galilee, a gigantic structure discovered not on land, but underwater. Not built of polished stone or carved temples, but of thousands upon thousands of rocks, carefully stacked and arranged into a shape so immense that it startled even the scientists who first saw it. Imagine this now, a mountain of stone, submerged in water, invisible to the eye from the surface. Over 230 feet across, taller than a 6-story building if it stood above ground, weighing an estimated 60,000 tons, and yet no one knows who built it, or why. The discovery came in 2003, when researchers conducting sonar surveys of the lake floor noticed a strange dome-like shape beneath the water. At first they thought it might be a natural formation, but as divers descended into the dark green water, what they found was not natural at all, it was deliberate. Layer upon layer of basalt boulders, each one placed with intention, forming an enormous cairn, a kind of stone mound. But this one was beyond anything known in the region. Take a slow breath, and picture yourself as one of those divers. You descend into the cool water. The light fades, shifting from blue to green, until only the dim beams of your lamp cut through the darkness. The silence is overwhelming, broken only by the soft hiss of bubbles rising from your mask, and then, emerging from the murk, you see it, an endless wall of stone stretching upward, a curve that seems to go on and on. Your light sweeps across boulders larger than you, piled one atop another, disappearing into the shadows below. You are looking at something impossibly old, impossibly large, and completely out of place. Who could have built such a thing? And why in the depths of this freshwater lake? Some believe the cairn was once on land, perhaps built as a burial mound or ceremonial monument thousands of years ago, before rising waters swallowed it whole. Others suggest it may have been part of an ancient harbor, guiding ships across the lake. But no definitive answer exists. All we know is that it took immense effort and purpose. Archaeologists compare its scale to the great megalithic structures of Europe, the massive cairns of Ireland, the stone circles of Britain, the dolmens scattered across the Levant. But here, hidden underwater, its mystery grows deeper. Unlike Stonehenge or Newgrange, no one can even visit this cairn easily. It is out of sight, out of reach, slumbering beneath the waves. Now, let yourself drift with the thought. The cairn is not made of small pebbles. Each stone is heavy basalt, some weighing hundreds of pounds. To move even a few would take teams of people, ropes, and determination. To create a cairn, 230 feet wide, would require not just labor, but organization, knowledge, and intent. This was no accident of nature, it was a work of purpose. But whose purpose? Was it the work of a forgotten culture, one that left no other traces? Could it be the remains of a civilization lost to history, drowned when waters rose? Or was it perhaps a monument for the dead, a colossal underwater tomb meant to honor someone of unimaginable importance? Close your eyes and drift further. Imagine standing thousands of years ago, before the waters covered the cairn. The air hot, the stones glistening in the sun as workers placed one upon another. Perhaps drums echoed in the background, chants rising in rhythm as each boulder was rolled into place. A mound growing higher and higher, a beacon visible for miles. And then, time passed. Centuries slipped by. The people who built it vanished. The waters rose slowly, swallowing the monument, stone by stone, until finally the entire cairn lay beneath the surface, forgotten. Yet still it remains, still it waits. Divers describe the strange feeling of being near it, as if the weight of so many stones presses down even in the water, as if the structure hums with silence, like a great shadow resting on the lakebed. Some say it is unsettling, as though the stones themselves are holding a secret they will not share. And what secrets might they hold? Could the cairn be connected to the countless other mysteries of the ancient Near East? To the temples of Ain Dara, to the megaliths of Baalbek, to the dolmens scattered across Israel and Jordan? Could it be part of a forgotten network of structures built by hands we no longer remember? Or was it something more personal? A single monument built for a leader, a chieftain, a king whose name has been lost to time? No inscriptions remain, no artifacts have been recovered. Only the stones themselves endure. Silent, heavy, immovable. As you breathe slowly, imagine yourself floating just above the cairn. The light dances across the surface of the water above, glimmering softly like stars. Below, the cairn looms, vast and dark, a sleeping mountain beneath the waves. It has been there for thousands of years. It will likely be there for thousands more. Watching, waiting, enduring. Perhaps one day archaeologists will uncover its true story. Perhaps technology will allow us to map it more clearly, to understand its design, its age, its purpose. But tonight, as you drift toward sleep, let the cairn remain a mystery. Let it be a great silent guardian, resting in the depths of the Galilee, holding its secrets close. Breathe slowly, calmly. Picture the cairn beneath the water, eternal, immovable, ancient. Imagine the stones pressing gently against the silence of the deep, and let that silence wrap around you like a blanket. The cairn is waiting. It always has been. And now, as your eyes grow heavy, you join its stillness. The oversized granite footprint of Mpuluzi. Imagine the early morning mist rising over the rolling hills of Mpuluzi in South Africa. The air is crisp, carrying the faint scent of wet earth and grass. A soft wind rustles the leaves of ancient trees, and the distant call of birds echoes through the valley. Beneath this serene landscape, hidden for centuries, lies something extraordinary, something massive and almost impossible. It is said that in a small clearing, carved into solid granite, rests a single footprint, not the footprint of an ordinary human. This one is gigantic, almost surreal in its scale, stretching nearly 8 feet in length. Its shape is distinct, perfectly formed, toes, arch, heel, as if some enormous being had walked across the granite long before humans recorded history. Visualize yourself standing beside it. Your own feet feel tiny in comparison, almost fragile. The stone is cold beneath your fingertips, rough yet smooth in places, worn by the centuries, and yet no one knows how it came to be. Was it a natural formation, shaped by wind and water over eons, or was it carved deliberately, by hands that have long since vanished into time? Local legends speak of giants, beings taller than the tallest trees, wandering the lands before history was written. Could this footprint belong to one of them? The scale alone seems to defy all logic. How could any human, even with advanced tools, carve such a precise and immense impression in solid granite? Scientists who have visited Mpuluzi have measured it carefully. They note its perfect proportions. The toes are well defined, the arch is slightly raised, and the heel is rounded naturally. These details suggest that this is more than just a random erosion pattern. It has intentionality, a deliberate design that is hard to ignore. Now imagine yourself tracing the contours with your hand. The stone is cool, slightly damp from morning dew. You can feel the grooves and ridges as your fingers follow the curve of the arch, move over the rounded heel, and explore each toe. There is a weight to it, a presence that feels almost alive, as though the footprint carries the energy of whoever or whatever left it there. Some researchers speculate that the footprint may have been a ritual marker. Perhaps it was used in ceremonies to honor a deity or giant ancestor. Perhaps it was a sign, a message for generations to see, a reminder of beings who once walked these lands and whose memory was preserved in stone. Take a slow breath now. Imagine the sun climbing higher in the sky, casting long shadows across the granite. The footprint seems even more enormous as the light shifts. Its scale, its mystery, its sheer improbability is overwhelming. You cannot help but feel a mixture of awe and unease. Who or what could leave such a mark? Imagine walking around it slowly, noticing the small details, faint scratches from tools, weathering from centuries of rain and sun. The surrounding granite has cracks and veins, making the footprint seem both integrated into the earth and yet somehow separate, like a memory frozen in stone. The locals call it a sacred place, a site of wonder. Pilgrims and travelers have visited over the years, leaving small offerings, stones, flowers, sometimes simple carvings of their own, as a gesture of respect for the unknown being that made this impression. You can almost hear whispers in the wind, faint stories of ancestors, of giants, of times lost. And still the scientific mind struggles. Could it be natural erosion? The granite is old enough to have been shaped by millennia of geological activity. Yet no known process creates such a perfectly formed, proportional footprint of this scale. It defies the rules we understand, forcing a quiet pause in the rational mind. Now picture standing back and seeing the footprint in its entirety. The landscape stretches around it, hills, forests, a small river snaking in the distance. Everything is calm, everything is silent except for the occasional bird call. And there, in the middle of this serene world, is the imprint of something enormous, enigmatic, and ancient. Some claim the footprint aligns with celestial patterns, like solstice or equinox markers, suggesting it may have had an astronomical purpose. Others believe it marks the path of a legendary figure, a giant hero of oral history, whose story has been lost but whose footprint endures. Feel the calm of the surroundings. The air is steady, the earth beneath your feet solid. You could almost step into the imprint, imagining the colossal being that once walked here, feeling the cool stone beneath your hands. The scale, the history, the mystery, it all blends into a quiet hum of awe, a gentle weight that fills the mind without words. As the day fades into evening, the footprint takes on a different character. Shadows deepen within its grooves, turning each toe into a miniature valley. The heel becomes a small hill, the arch a bridge over a stream of imagined time. You can see the centuries of weathering, the patience of nature, the silence of history preserved in stone. No one knows exactly how old it is. Some suggest thousands of years, others tens of thousands. But one thing is certain, it remains untouched, enigmatic, and profoundly still. Standing near it, breathing slowly, you feel a connection to something greater, something older than your own life, something eternal. Let the calm of Mpuluzi settle over you. Imagine the massive footprint beneath your gaze, resting in the quiet hills, silent yet powerful. Its mystery remains, unanswered, serene, and timeless. As you breathe deeply, let your mind drift alongside the gentle hills, beside the silent granite, alongside a mystery that may never be solved. The oversized granite footprint of Mpuluzi waits patiently, as it has for millennia, holding its secret beneath the South African sky. The enormous stone idols of Zabruk. In the quiet fields along the Zabruk River in Ukraine, there lies a secret few ever pause to truly notice. Amid the gentle hills and the slow, winding river, stand statues unlike anything you've seen. These are the Zabruk idols, enormous stone carvings, weathered by centuries yet still imposing, silent witnesses to a time long past. Imagine approaching them slowly. The morning mist clings to the grass, softening the edges of the world. The air smells faintly of damp earth, moss, and the cool river just beyond. The idols rise from the ground like ancient sentinels, 4 meters tall, carved from a single block of stone. Their surfaces are rough yet deliberate, worn by time but still revealing the figures of gods and ancestors. These idols are remarkable not only for their size, but for their design. Each face, each body, tells a story. One side shows a deity of the heavens, serene and watchful. Another depicts a god of the underworld, eyes deep and hollow, carrying the weight of mysteries we cannot fully comprehend. A third side celebrates the living world, humans, animals, and the cycles of nature, intertwined in stone. And the fourth side, perhaps the most enigmatic, is a space we can only interpret as the realm of spirits. Picture standing before one of these stone giants. Your own hands can barely reach halfway up its surface. The carvings are intricate, full of lines and symbols, yet softened by centuries of wind and rain. You can almost feel the hands that carved them. Imagine the artisans of long ago, chiseling with patience, devotion, and reverence. Archaeologists say these idols are from the 9th century, but some believe their origins may go further back. Remnants of Slavic pagan worship, a time before churches and cathedrals rose in these lands. They served as focal points for rituals, offerings, and prayers. Perhaps villagers would leave grain, coins, or small carved tokens at the base. Silent gestures of hope or fear, acknowledging forces they could not see but deeply respected. Imagine walking slowly around the idol, letting your eyes follow the curves and grooves of the stone. The faces stare in every direction, and in their silent gaze you feel the weight of centuries. The air seems to hum softly, carrying the whispers of countless rituals, of hands pressed in prayer, of voices murmuring blessings or warnings. Feel the sun on your back as it rises higher, casting long shadows across the field. The statue's size becomes even more striking. One cannot help but feel small in comparison, fragile yet oddly comforted by their steadfast presence. There is something eternal in stone, a reminder of human desire to reach beyond themselves, to touch the sacred, to leave a mark that defies the fleeting nature of life. Some scholars believe the idol was used as a calendar or cosmological guide. The sides may represent directions, seasons, or the cycle of life and death. Others think they marked sacred boundaries, places where the physical world intersected with the spiritual. You don't need to understand all of this fully. Just observing, breathing, and taking in their scale and silence is enough. Imagine now running your hands over the cool, rough stone. Tiny cracks and moss textures greet your fingertips. You notice the delicate curves, the subtle expressions of each face, the way the artisans captured humanity, divinity, and nature in a single monolith. You can feel the time pressed into the stone, layer upon layer, like pages in a book you can't read aloud, yet can still sense deeply. The field is quiet, except for the occasional bird song and the rustling of leaves. Standing here, the Zubruk idols seem alive in their stillness. They are guardians, observers, and storytellers, and though you will never hear a word from them, their story seeps into your mind slowly, a calm, steady rhythm, like a heartbeat of the past. As the afternoon light softens, shadows stretch across the field, emphasizing the enormity of the statues. The carvings seem to change subtly with the sun, faces looking more thoughtful, more mysterious. You can almost imagine the ceremonies that took place here, the songs, the dances, the offerings made in reverence, all absorbed quietly into the stone over centuries. Now, breathe slowly and let your attention drift along the carvings. See the symbols, the forms of humans and animals, the geometric lines etched into the stone. Imagine the voices of a long-forgotten people, speaking words that have turned into whispers in the wind, still echoing faintly against the riverbanks. The Zubruk idols are more than monuments. They are a bridge between the living and the ancient past, a reminder of humanity's enduring need to understand the unknown, to honor the unseen, and to preserve memory in a world that constantly changes. Picture standing back and observing the entire scene, the flowing river, the green hills, the mist settling slowly over the field, and these enormous figures standing in serene patience. You feel small, calm, and connected to something far older than yourself. And as the sun continues its journey across the sky, casting a gentle glow over the stone, let the enormous stone idols of Zubruk sink into your thoughts. Feel their weight, their silence, their mystery, and let yourself drift gently into the calm, timeless rhythm of the past. The cyclopean walls of Sacsayhuaman. High above the city of Cusco in Peru, where the wind sweeps through the Andean peaks and the clouds drift lazily across the sky, there stands a structure that has fascinated and baffled generations. These are the cyclopean walls of Sacsayhuaman, colossal stone constructions so massive, so precisely fitted, that modern engineers still marvel at how they were built. Imagine approaching the site at dawn. The air is crisp, filled with the scent of mountain grass and distant earth. As your eyes settle on the walls, the scale becomes apparent. These stones are enormous, some weighing more than 100 tons, and yet each block fits with such precision that not even a blade of grass can slip between them. Consider the hands that shaped these stones thousands of years ago. People without modern machinery, using basic tools of stone, wood, and rope, moving massive granite blocks across uneven terrain. They must have worked with incredible patience, immense coordination, and knowledge passed down through generations. Imagine the rhythm of their work, steady, calm, focused. Every placement exact, deliberate, and enduring. The walls themselves form a zigzag pattern, climbing and descending the hillside. Their scale suggests they were meant to awe, to impress, perhaps even to intimidate. From a distance they resemble a fortress, a giant that has frozen in stone, guarding the city below. And yet, as you walk along the pathways between these enormous blocks, there is a quiet elegance to the structure. It speaks of intelligence, care, and a deep understanding of the landscape. Notice the edges of the stones, meticulously carved to interlock with one another. Each joint is unique, tailored to the shape of its neighbor. There is no mortar here, no cement, only stone meeting stone, perfectly balanced. It is a feat that has survived earthquakes that have shaken the Andes for centuries, a testament to the ingenuity and skill of the builders. Now imagine the ceremonies that might have taken place here. The Inca people, ascending the terraces, perhaps carrying offerings, chanting in low, resonant voices that echo across the stones. The walls may have witnessed prayers, celebrations, and the quiet contemplation of the mountains. They are not just fortifications, they are a canvas for human devotion, resilience, and connection to the world around them. Walk slowly along the terraces and run your hand across the granite. Feel its cool surface, smooth in some areas from centuries of rain and wind, rough where nature has held sway. Each stone is heavy, immovable, yet perfectly positioned, a quiet harmony of strength and stability. It is easy to imagine the builders, kneeling to measure, carving and lifting, their movements deliberate, almost meditative. As the sun climbs higher, shadows stretch across the walls, accentuating their angular beauty and monumental scale. Birds perch on the edges, their calls blending with the distant murmurs of the city below. There is a profound stillness here, a pause in time, where history, stone, and nature meet. Look closely at the smaller carvings along the walls. There are niches and channels that may have had ceremonial purposes, signs etched into stone that modern scholars still debate. Every groove, every indentation seems intentional, a whisper from the past that invites interpretation but offers no certainty. Imagine the sight in different seasons: mist curling around the stones in the winter, the air fragrant with blooming flowers in spring. Perhaps long ago, Inca astronomers observed the stars from these terraces, mapping the heavens as carefully as the stones beneath their feet. The walls may have been a backdrop for both earthly and celestial contemplation, a bridge between human effort and cosmic rhythm. Feel the weight of the stones in your imagination, the gravity of history pressing gently on your mind. Each block has endured centuries of change, from conquest to natural disaster, yet stands proud, an enduring witness to human ingenuity. In their quiet strength, there is a calm that invites reflection, a rhythm that soothes. Now, take a slow breath and let the enormity of the walls settle into your consciousness. The cyclopean stones of Sacsayhuaman are patient. They do not rush, they do not demand. They exist as they were placed, allowing us a glimpse into a world that valued precision, devotion, and harmony with nature. Walk slowly along the paths, tracing the contours with your eyes. Let the scale of the stones, the intricacy of the joints, and the history embedded in every crevice guide your mind to a place of calm. There is no need to hurry here, no need to question every mystery. Simply allow yourself to absorb the quiet magnificence of Sacsayhuaman, letting the rhythm of the past flow gently into your present awareness. As the afternoon fades to evening, imagine the soft light touching the stones, highlighting the interlocking forms, casting long, gentle shadows. The walls remain, timeless and enduring, a testament to human skill and perseverance. Let your mind rest here, with the stones, the mountains, and the wind as companions, carrying you slowly, steadily, into a peaceful state of calm, ready for rest. The mysterious petroglyph boulders of Bohuslän. Along the rugged coastlines of Sweden, where the waves of the North Sea whisper against the rocks and the wind carries the faint scent of salt and pine, there lie boulders unlike any other. These are not ordinary stones. They are ancient canvases, carved with symbols, figures, and scenes that have silently endured thousands of years. These are the petroglyph boulders of Bohuslän, mysterious artifacts that continue to puzzle scholars, historians, and curious wanderers alike. Imagine walking along the shoreline, the sound of waves lapping softly against the rocks, the chill of sea spray brushing your skin. Among the uneven, moss-covered stones, some rise taller than a person. Their surfaces are etched with depictions of humans, boats, animals, and strange geometric shapes. At first glance, it might seem random, almost abstract, but as your eyes adjust, patterns begin to emerge: stories, rituals, perhaps even warnings or celebrations long forgotten. These carvings date back to the Bronze Age, nearly 3,000 to 4,000 years ago. They were etched meticulously, using stone tools by people who lived close to nature, who observed the sea, the sky, and the cycles of life with reverence. Every stroke on the rock is deliberate, each curve and line a message preserved for millennia. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine the artists at work. Perhaps they knelt on the smooth granite, their hands steady, their breath slow and rhythmic, carefully chiseling each image into the rock. Maybe they worked in silence, or perhaps songs and chants accompanied their movements, the sound of a primitive ritual mingling with the wind and the waves. Look closer at the carvings. Boats with tall masts appear, their sails caught in invisible winds. Humans in motion, hunting or dancing, raise their arms to unseen forces. Animals, some recognizable, some strange, roam across the boulder's surface. Some shapes are geometric, interlocking, like codes meant for understanding the cosmos or marking seasonal changes. No one knows the exact meaning, and perhaps that was never meant to be understood by outsiders. Walking among these boulders, you can feel the energy of those long past. Imagine a Bronze Age community gathering here, the smell of wood fires mingling with the salty air. The carvings may have been used in rituals, as a way to communicate with gods, spirits, or ancestors. Some petroglyphs are positioned with the rising or setting sun, marking the passage of time, the seasons, or significant celestial events. The alignment, precision, and scale suggest a deep understanding of the natural world and a reverence for forces we can only guess at today. Notice the textures of the stone beneath your fingers, smooth from centuries of rain and wind, but still retaining the grooves and cuts of ancient tools. The carvings are subtle, almost whispering their stories rather than shouting. You can almost hear the faint echoes of the past, soft voices that speak in rhythm with the waves. Some boulders depict scenes of feasting, of battles, of animals in their natural environment. Others are more abstract, showing concentric circles, spirals, and grids whose meanings remain elusive. Archaeologists have debated endlessly. Were these early maps, spiritual symbols, or stories of daily life? Perhaps they were all of these things at once. As you wander along the shoreline, you notice how the light plays upon the carvings, Early morning sun catches the edges of the etchings, making them glow softly. The shadow of a passing cloud adds movement, bringing the figures to life for just a moment. In the quiet, the wind, the waves, and the boulders themselves form a rhythm that is calming, hypnotic, almost like the slow pulse of history itself. Imagine the boulders during a storm, rain dripping down their surfaces, the wind bending trees, waves crashing against the shore. The carvings endure, silent and immutable, witnesses to the passing of millennia, holding secrets that no one can fully decipher. The petroglyph boulders are more than art. They are a dialogue between humans and the world around them, etched in stone, meant to last far beyond the lives of those who created them. Feel the enormity of the landscape, the vastness of the coast, the solitude of these ancient stones. They speak of continuity, survival, and the human need to leave a mark, a message, a connection across time. Standing here, you sense the hands of the past reaching toward the present, gentle and enduring. As the sun dips lower, casting long, warm shadows, imagine yourself tracing the carvings with your eyes, slowly absorbing the intricacies, the forms, and the silent stories. Every line, every figure, carries the heartbeat of a world that has long vanished, yet still persists in stone. Allow yourself to breathe deeply and take in the calmness of the scene. The petroglyph boulders of Bohuslan are patient. They are silent. They are timeless. Let their presence settle into your mind, soothing, grounding, guiding you into a slow, relaxed state, where the mysteries of the past become a gentle, mesmerizing rhythm you can drift along with. The stone forest of Shilin. In the misty province of Yunnan, China, there lies a place that seems almost otherworldly. The stone forest of Shilin, where towering limestone pillars rise like ancient sentinels from the earth, creating an illusion of walking through petrified trees. The name Shilin translates to stone forest. Yet as you approach, the scale and complexity of the formations make it feel like something far more extraordinary than mere rock. Imagine stepping into this forest at dawn. The air is cool and damp, carrying the earthy scent of moss and wet stone. Light filters softly through low-hanging clouds, brushing across jagged pinnacles that stretch as high as 30 meters. The sound here is muted, except for the occasional distant call of a bird or the trickle of water through hidden crevices. Every step echoes lightly, a gentle rhythm that sets your pace slow and deliberate. As you walk, you notice the shapes of the rocks. Some resemble ancient guardians, frozen in mid-motion, while others take the form of twisted trees or mythical creatures. Your imagination begins to wander, and yet it is guided by the calm stillness surrounding you. Each pillar seems intentionally placed, as if an unseen hand had sculpted this forest to inspire awe and reflection. These limestone formations were created over hundreds of millions of years. Rainwater and erosion carved channels, grooves, and jagged edges, slowly transforming solid stone into shapes that seem alive. Imagine the patience of time itself, carving each crevice and pillar, leaving a landscape both harsh and delicate. It is a reminder of nature's quiet power, of forces beyond human comprehension, moving slowly, steadily, yet shaping entire worlds. As you trace the edges of a particularly tall stone with your eyes, you might imagine the ancient legends tied to this place. The local Sani people have long believed that the stones are the petrified remains of past kings, warriors, and creatures who walked the earth long ago. Each formation carries a story, whispered through generations, connecting the land with human imagination and myth. The pathways wind through the forest like veins, leading you past narrow corridors where the pillars almost touch, forming quiet chambers where your footsteps echo softly. Pause for a moment and listen. The forest has a subtle voice, a hush of wind, a soft scrape of stone, a gentle suggestion that time here moves differently, slower, allowing your mind to release the constant urgency of daily life. As you continue deeper, sunlight filters through the peaks, casting long, elegant shadows across the limestone. Colors shift from pale gray to golden hues, emphasizing the rough textures and sharp edges. Each formation is unique, like a frozen sculpture, each with its own character and story. You begin to sense a rhythm to the forest, a steady, patient heartbeat that invites calm and contemplation. Take note of the smallest details, the delicate carvings left by erosion, the tiny plants clinging to crevices, the occasional insect moving across a sunlit rock. These subtle signs of life contrast with the immense permanence of the stones, highlighting the delicate balance between motion and stillness, between living and enduring. Imagine standing on a slight rise, looking across a field of jagged pinnacles. The stones stretch as far as the eye can see, rising and falling like the peaks and valleys of a stone ocean. Here you are not just observing, you are immersed in a place where the boundaries between past and present blur, where every formation hints at secrets long held and stories yet untold. Some of the rocks resemble mythical animals or ancient spirits, and legends say that wandering too far into the densest parts of the forest might bring visions or encounters with spirits of the earth. Let your mind wander gently with these stories, not with fear but with curiosity, allowing the mystery of Shillin to settle slowly into your imagination. The forest has a natural rhythm, the stones echoing centuries of wind, rain, and time. It is quiet here, but not lifeless. The gentle whisper of nature guides your thoughts, slowing your breathing, steadying your heart, and easing your mind into calm reflection. Imagine tracing your fingers along the cool, rough surfaces of the limestone, feeling the textures, the coolness, the solidity of rocks shaped over eons. As the sun lowers in the sky, shadows deepen, and the forest takes on a more mystical hue. The towering pillars now cast long, stretching silhouettes, and the corridors between them grow quieter. Your steps slow further, your awareness absorbing the immense scale, the intricate carvings, and the history pressed into every surface. You begin to sense the patience embedded in every stone. The stone forest is unhurried, eternal, and unchanging, inviting you to mirror its calm. Each breath you take matches the slow rhythm of the wind through the pinnacles. Each heartbeat is a gentle echo of the timeless forces that shaped this land. Walking slowly back through the main pathways, you feel a lingering connection to the ancient earth, to the forces that have molded mountains, rivers, and stone. The stone forest of Shillin is more than a collection of limestone pillars. It is a space of reflection, wonder, and quiet contemplation. Here your mind can rest, your thoughts can drift, and the magnitude of the world encourages a deep sense of calm. As twilight falls, the forest's edges blur into the mist. The towering pinnacles seem to dissolve into soft gray shapes, their sharp edges softened, their presence still commanding but gentle. Let your mind drift with the fading light, embracing the quiet, immersive stillness. The stone forest of Shillin, with its immense stones, patient history, and whispering pathways, lingers in your imagination, guiding you toward a calm, restful state, ready to fade gently into sleep. The petrified wood giants of Arizona. In the heart of northern Arizona lies a landscape where time itself seems to have paused. The Petrified Forest National Park stretches across the desert, its soil scattered with the remnants of ancient forests, giant trees transformed into stone over millions of years. These are not ordinary trees, they are enormous, fossilized giants, their trunks preserved with astonishing detail, as if the living essence of the forest has been frozen into mineral memory. Imagine walking along a winding trail in the early morning, when the desert is still cool and the sun casts long, soft shadows across the ground. Each step reveals fragments of colossal logs, some over 30 meters long, their bark textures and growth rings still visible in the polished stone. The colors shift gently in the light, reds, purples, and golds blending with the sandy earth. The air is dry yet calm, carrying a subtle mineral scent that speaks of age and endurance. These trees once thrived in a humid, lush landscape during the late Triassic period, around 225 million years ago. Over countless centuries, they fell, became buried in sediment, and slowly transformed into stone through a process called permineralization, where silica and other minerals seeped into every fiber of wood, replacing organic material with crystallized stone. Running your hands across the surfaces, you can feel the cool solidity beneath your fingertips, the weight of deep time pressing gently into your consciousness. The petrified logs are scattered unevenly across the desert, creating natural corridors and chambers. As you move through them, the scale of these ancient giants is humbling. Some rise like stone pillars, others lie fallen like ancient monuments, their ends splintered yet still perfectly preserving the intricate patterns of their lifelong growth. The landscape feels suspended between worlds, the living and the fossilized, the past and the present. The colors of the petrified wood are created by mineral deposits. Iron creates rich reds and oranges, manganese produces blues and purples, and copper leaves hints of green. These subtle variations form a natural mosaic, and as the sun shifts, the logs seem to glow softly, each one reflecting light in a unique and mesmerizing way. Your eyes trace their veins and knots, slowly, patiently, letting each detail sink into your awareness. Wandering deeper into the forest, you notice fragments of logs protruding from the ground, half buried and weathered by wind and erosion. In some areas, the stone giants form clusters that resemble ancient groves, natural cathedrals where silence dominates and only the faint sound of wind through desert grasses interrupts the stillness. Here your breathing slows, your heartbeat aligns with the quiet rhythm of this place. Legends and stories have grown around these giants. Indigenous peoples of the region have long regarded the petrified forest as sacred, as a place where earth, time, and spirit converge. Some believe these stones carry the memory of the forest's original life, a silent witness to millions of years of change, a bridge between the living present and the distant past. As you imagine the world when these trees were alive, towering over ancient rivers and swamps, home to creatures long extinct, the magnitude of time itself becomes tangible. Some of the logs are hollowed, creating natural passageways and arches. You can almost imagine walking through a cathedral of stone, the walls textured with millions of years of growth, decay, and transformation. Light filters through gaps, forming delicate patterns across smooth surfaces, inviting your mind to wander, to dream, to rest. In certain areas, the petrified logs lie alongside fossilized ferns, leaves, and other plant remnants, creating a natural museum beneath the open sky. These silent witnesses of life evoke reflection and calm, and you can almost hear the whisper of wind across their surfaces, carrying stories from a time long forgotten. Take a moment to imagine running your fingers along the crystallized surface of a massive log, tracing the rings that reveal the life of a tree grown in a world utterly unlike our own. Each line marks a year of growth, a season of rain or drought, a passage of life now eternal in stone. The quiet repetition of these rings encourages a slow, steady rhythm in your own thoughts, a gentle slowing of the mind and body. As the sun rises higher, the desert light illuminates the forest's unique formations. The colors shift and shimmer, creating subtle contrasts that invite contemplation. Every angle reveals a new pattern, a new texture, a new story, etched into stone. Walking among these petrified giants, you feel a profound sense of continuity, a connection to life that existed hundreds of millions of years ago, now preserved in a form that is both alien and familiar. Some of the logs are split, revealing interiors that sparkle like crystal, their surfaces polished by the slow process of fossilization. Tiny minerals embedded in the wood catch the light, creating a subtle, calm luminescence. Here, the desert and the forest merge, forming a landscape that feels almost sacred, a place where the mind can rest, explore, and dream freely. As the day moves on, shadows lengthen again, softening the jagged edges of stone and giving the logs a warm, muted glow. Your steps grow slower, more deliberate. You notice the tiniest details, the cracks and fissures that tell stories of geological pressure, the small desert plants that cling to life beside these ancient giants, and the interplay of sunlight and shadow across smooth and rough surfaces alike. By the time twilight approaches, the petrified forest feels timeless, infinite, a silent library of life, decay, and transformation. The enormity of the logs, the colors and textures, the delicate balance of light and shadow, all of it lulls the mind into a state of calm, reflective, almost meditative awareness. Walking back along the trail, you carry with you the impression of these immense stone giants, their scale, their permanence, their patient endurance. The petrified wood giants of Arizona remain in your mind, a reminder of time's quiet persistence and nature's astonishing ability to preserve life in stone. Here, in this serene, majestic desert landscape, your thoughts slow, your breathing steadies, and the mind drifts gently, quietly toward calm and rest. The stone fallis columns of Khajuraho. In the heart of central India, surrounded by quiet forests and gentle streams, stands a complex of temples that has survived centuries, its stone walls bearing witness to a culture both spiritual and intimate. The Khajuraho temples, with their intricate carvings and elaborate designs, hold secrets and stories frozen in stone, waiting to be noticed by those who wander slowly through their corridors. Among these carvings are the stone fallis columns, monuments that speak of fertility, devotion, and the mysteries of human life in a time long past. Walking along the temple paths, you feel a sense of calm enveloping you. The air is warm, carrying the scent of ancient sandstone and the soft rustle of leaves. The columns rise tall and strong, carved with care, their forms both abstract and explicit, representing the creative force of life itself. As you gaze at them, the first sensation is one of wonder. How did artisans of such antiquity manage to render human emotion, intimacy, and divine symbolism so enduringly in stone? The fallis columns are not merely decorative, they serve a spiritual purpose. They are lingam representations, symbols of creation and cosmic energy in Hindu belief. Their presence within the temple architecture is deliberate, positioned in ways that harmonize with the temple's overall design, often paired with yoni bases or surrounded by sculptures of deities, dancers, and celestial beings. Each column tells a story, one of devotion, sacredness, and the recognition of the life-giving forces that sustain humanity and nature alike. Imagine tracing your fingers along the smooth, cold stone surface, noticing the minute details carved into every surface. The lines, curves, and textures reveal careful planning and craftsmanship, a patient effort to communicate sacred ideas through stone. In some areas, the carvings are worn by centuries of wind, sun, and human touch, yet their essence remains, preserved in the enduring rock. You notice subtle variations in the patterns, each column distinct yet connected to the larger rhythm of the temple. As you wander deeper into the temple complex, the carvings begin to tell more intricate stories. Figures of couples intertwined, musicians playing ancient instruments, and celestial dancers accompany the columns, creating a tableau of life, love, and devotion. The phallus columns stand as silent sentinels within these scenes, grounding the narrative in creation, fertility, and the eternal cycle of life. The stone itself carries the energy of time. Sandstone, chosen for its durability and workability, responds to light and shadow in delicate ways. Morning sunlight illuminates the carvings softly, accentuating curves and reliefs. By late afternoon, shadows deepen, and the sculptures seem to shift, revealing new angles and hidden expressions. Your mind follows slowly, allowing each detail to imprint gently, a calm focus that encourages quiet reflection. Walking among the columns, you begin to sense the deliberate pacing of the ancient artisans. Each sculpture, each carving, each column was intended not merely to be seen, but to be experienced. They were designed to draw attention, to inspire contemplation, to invite understanding of forces larger than the self. And here you are, centuries later, feeling the slow rhythm of history, the heartbeat of human culture encoded in stone. Some columns are tall and imposing, others shorter yet intricately carved with patterns of vines, flowers, and celestial motifs. Your eyes trace their forms in the soft light, and your mind drifts into the intention behind them, the acknowledgement of life, growth, and the sacredness of creation. There is an almost hypnotic rhythm to the carvings, the repetition of form, the symmetry, the careful proportions, all inviting a slow, meditative gaze. The phallus columns are positioned thoughtfully in relation to temple entrances, courtyards, and inner sanctums. They guide movement through the temple, subtly directing the visitor's attention to key spiritual points. Walking among them, your steps slow, your breathing deepens, and the mind begins to wander along the path of centuries past. You imagine pilgrims moving through the complex long ago, their footsteps soft on stone, their voices quiet in reverence, their eyes tracing the same columns that you now observe with gentle curiosity. As your journey continues, you notice the scale of these columns, some reaching impressive heights, carved with precision, standing like silent witnesses over centuries. The artisans worked with intention, ensuring balance between structure and artistic expression. Each surface, each angle, each carved detail seems to pulse subtly with the energy of devotion and human creativity, inviting the observer into a state of calm attentiveness. Some columns carry abstract motifs, symbolic representations that may appear cryptic to the modern eye. Yet in the quiet contemplation of the temple, their meaning becomes less important than the experience itself. The way the hands, the eyes, and the imagination travel over the stone, following curves and lines, feeling the coolness of mineral beneath the fingertips. Your mind slows, thoughts drift, and a gentle sense of awe and relaxation settles in. The stone columns are weathered in some places, smooth from centuries of touch, slightly rough in others where time has taken its toll. This subtle imperfection adds to their authenticity, a reminder that these objects were part of a living world, interacted with by humans over countless generations. As you study them, you feel the depth of history folding gently into the present, a quiet continuity that brings a soothing calm. In the evening, as the sun begins to lower, the colors of the sandstone change, casting warm hues across the temple grounds. Shadows stretch along the base of the columns, highlighting the contours, the carvings, and the intricate detailing. The temple seems to exhale, a slow, rhythmic breathing that matches your own, guiding your mind into a tranquil, reflective state. Imagine sitting near one of the taller columns, letting your fingers brush over the carved stone, feeling the cool surface against your skin. Listen to the faint whisper of wind through nearby trees, the distant calls of birds returning to their nests. The temple itself seems alive in a quiet way, the columns standing as patient witnesses to human life, devotion, and creativity. As darkness falls and the temple grounds grow quieter, the phallus columns remain steadfast. They carry the memory of centuries, the intentions of artisans long gone, and the spiritual energy of generations of pilgrims who walked these paths. In this calm, gentle atmosphere, the columns invite your mind to wander slowly, thoughts becoming lighter, muscles relaxing, and your attention softening into the steady rhythm of presence and observation. The stone phallus columns of Khajuraho are more than stone. They are a bridge across time, a quiet meditation on creation, artistry, and human devotion. As you take one last look at their shapes, patterns, and silent beauty, a gentle sense of serenity fills your mind. Here, amidst stone, history, and the soft cadence of nature, your awareness drifts slowly, softly, into calm contemplation. Every carved detail, every smooth surface, every shadow and light interplay invites patience, reflection, and rest. The temple and its stone phallus columns remain a sanctuary, a place to pause, breathe, and let the mind float, carried softly by the enduring presence of these ancient stone witnesses. The lost megaliths of Baalbek Quarry. High in the mountains of Lebanon, where the air is crisp and the horizon stretches into soft blue, lies a place of monumental ambition. the Baalbek Quarry. Here, massive stones, some weighing hundreds of tons, rest in silent patience, their surfaces rough-hewn yet awe-inspiring, as if waiting for eyes that truly understand their enormity. Among them is the legendary stone of the pregnant woman, one of the largest worked stones in the world, lying quietly, partially shaped but never moved, a testament to human endeavor that baffles even today's engineers. As you approach the quarry, the wind carries a faint whisper across the rocky terrain, and your footsteps fall softly on ancient ground. The stones themselves dominate the landscape, their sheer size dwarfing everything around them. Standing near the stone of the pregnant woman, it is impossible not to feel a quiet reverence. This is a stone that has resisted the passage of time, remaining as both a challenge and a mystery, holding secrets about the people who cut it, the tools they used, and the purpose it was meant to serve. Running your eyes along its massive surface, you notice the precision of the cuts, the subtle angles, and the enormous scale that seems almost impossible to comprehend. Imagine the effort, the ingenuity, and the planning required to shape such a stone without modern machinery. Ancient hands, driven by faith, ambition, or necessity, must have labored for weeks, months, perhaps years, carving a block that no single person could move alone. And yet, it lies here, patiently waiting, whispering hints of techniques lost to time. Nearby, other massive stones lie scattered, some partially carved, some abandoned, their weight and scale almost surreal. The air is filled with stillness, broken only by the occasional call of a bird or the soft scuff of your steps. Each stone feels alive in its own way, a monument not only to physical labor, but to the curiosity and determination of ancient builders. In the quiet of the quarry, the mind drifts, imagining the scene centuries ago, workers moving stones with ropes and levers, overseers surveying, the echoes of effort vibrating through the mountains. As your attention follows the contours of the stone of the pregnant woman, the enormity of its size becomes a meditation in itself. Each angle, each carved line is evidence of deliberate planning. Your thoughts slow, focusing on the rhythm of creation, the rhythm of human hands shaping earth and stone, one careful movement at a time. The stone becomes a silent teacher, showing the patient unfolding of human endeavor over long hours and quiet days. You begin to notice smaller details, the way natural fissures run across the stone, the texture of weathered surfaces, the faint traces of ancient tools. These elements, subtle yet profound, connect the present to the past. You feel the weight not just of the stone itself, but of history pressing gently, inviting you to slow down, breathe, and observe. The mind, quieted by scale and stillness, starts to wander among questions of who, how, and why. How did they plan for such colossal structures? What purpose did these stones serve, and why? For some reason did this one remain unmoved, partially carved, a silent giant. Walking along the quarry, your eyes travel from one massive stone to another, each a lesson in patience and precision. Some stones are so enormous they seem almost unreal, defying imagination. In the calm of the afternoon light, shadows play across the surfaces, accentuating curves, edges, and imperfections, each telling its own quiet story. The sun casts soft hues across the quarry, and you can almost feel the passage of centuries in the warmth and light that touches every stone. Pause near the stone of the pregnant woman, imagining hands and tools working slowly, rhythmically, in the dusty air. Visualize the laborer's careful measurements, the meticulous carving, the constant attention to detail. Every mark, every surface plane, is deliberate, each telling a story of focus, patience, and human ingenuity. Your mind drifts gently with the stones, contemplating the mystery of scale and ambition, and the enormity of human effort preserved in cold, silent rock. As shadows lengthen and the sun descends, the stones take on a new character. The massive surface of the pregnant woman glows softly in the evening light. Its scale and weight seem even more pronounced, and you realize that it has silently witnessed centuries of history, waiting quietly, unchanged by empires, weather, or human curiosity. Standing there, you are reminded of the quiet persistence of time and how it shapes perception and imagination. Each stone in Baalbek Quarry is unique, yet together they form a landscape of ambition, endurance, and unanswered questions. The mind is drawn to wonder, how were these stones moved and positioned? What secrets are locked within their immense mass? And how does the quarry remain, largely unchanged, a silent museum of extraordinary human ambition? In the quiet, your attention softens. You trace the edges, feel the cold surface with your imagination, and consider the enormity of human planning, vision, and patience required to create structures that defy logic even today. The stone's immobility, its sheer scale, and the mystery of why it was left in place invite reflection and contemplation. The lost megaliths of Baalbek are more than stones. They are monuments to human ingenuity, patience, and the enduring fascination with scale, precision, and mystery. Standing quietly among them, you feel a gentle rhythm of time, a slow unfolding of history and effort. The quarry, the stones, and the partially carved giants like the stone of the pregnant woman offer calm observation, quiet meditation, and a gentle connection to the labor, vision, and mystery of those who came before. Every surface, every fissure, every monumental contour invites the mind to pause, breathe, and reflect. The quarry teaches patience, endurance, and the power of human imagination. In its calm vastness, your thoughts settle, your body relaxes, and the enduring presence of these colossal stones carries you softly into a state of serene awareness, letting your mind wander gently across centuries of history and human endeavor. Here, in the quiet of the Baalbek quarry, with the lost megaliths standing sentinel, the mind drifts slowly, gently, comfortably. A place where scale, mystery, and history meet in silent harmony. The great stone rings of Callanish. Far on the windswept moors of the Isle of Lewis, in the Outer Hebrides of Scotland, there lies a circle of stones that has silently stood for thousands of years. These are the Callanish standing stones, known simply to the locals as Callanish. The air here is cool, tinged with salt from the nearby sea, and carries a quiet hum of history. As you approach, the stones rise from the earth like ancient sentinels, each monolith massive, rough-hewn, and commanding attention without a word. Walking among the stones, you feel the weight of time pressing gently against your awareness. Each stone seems to hold memory, not just of the people who placed it here, but of the countless seasons, storms, and quiet nights that have passed over the moors. The largest stones rise almost 5 meters high, their surfaces weathered yet resolute, and aligned with care that hints at astronomical observation, ritual, or meaning lost to the ages. The circle itself is irregular, not perfectly symmetrical, yet the arrangement suggests careful thought. Lines of smaller stones radiate outward, forming patterns that, from above, may align with the moon, the sun, or celestial events long forgotten. You can almost imagine the ancient builders, their hands roughened by stone, moving each monolith with primitive tools, ropes, and ingenuity that modern engineers still puzzle over. As your footsteps brush across the soft grass between the stones, you notice small details, the texture of lichen-covered surfaces, the gentle moss that clings to the edges, and the way the evening light casts long shadows that stretch and bend across the moor. The air is silent, almost reverent, broken only by the distant cry of a bird or the whisper of wind through the stones. It is a place that invites contemplation, patience, and a slow awareness of the vastness of time. You trace the circle with your eyes, imagining the ceremonies, gatherings, and quiet moments that must have taken place here. Perhaps there were rituals to honor the sun, the moon, or the turning of the seasons. Perhaps the stones were markers of sacred stories, etched not in writing, but in stone and memory. Each possibility drifts gently through your mind, carrying a calm, hypnotic rhythm that slows the heart and softens thought. Moving closer to the tallest stones, you feel the enormity of human ambition in their presence. These were not casual placements. Every angle, every space between stones, seems deliberate, designed to harmonize with the landscape and the sky above. The mind wanders. How did these ancient people measure, plan, and execute such a complex arrangement without written plans or modern tools? The questions linger quietly, unanswered, but without urgency, blending into the stillness of the moor. As dusk approaches, the Callanish stones take on a new character. Shadows deepen, contours become softer, and the stones themselves seem to exhale, as if relaxing into the evening. You feel a gentle pull toward the slow pace of the past, where time was measured not in hours or minutes, but in the rise and fall of the sun and moon, the changing of the seasons, and the rhythms of life itself. Every stone has a story, and yet each remains silent, inviting the imagination to fill the gaps. You can sense the presence of the ancients, not as ghosts, but as echoes, patterns of thought, reverence, and purpose that have survived the centuries. Standing in the center of the circle, the mind quiets. You feel small, not diminished, but gently embraced by the scale of human creativity and patience. The surrounding moor stretches endlessly, and as your gaze moves outward, the circle appears to float in space, a meditation in stone and earth. You notice the texture of the soil, the subtle slope of the land, and the distant glimmer of the Atlantic waters. Everything slows, breathing deepens. Thoughts drift like clouds across the mind, each one moving softly, blending with the hum of the earth beneath your feet. Walking along the outer lines of stones, your imagination travels across millennia. You picture the builders moving from stone to stone, chanting, measuring, observing. Every small action, every deliberate placement, speaks of patience, reverence, and a deep understanding of nature and sky. The circle becomes a gentle guide, helping your thoughts flow slowly, encouraging reflection and calm. Night falls, and the stars begin to pierce the darkening sky. In their light, the stones take on an ethereal glow. They no longer feel just like weathered rock, but like sentinels bridging past and present. the mind wanders from one possibility to another, a ritual of the moon, a marker for the solstice, a silent testament to human ambition. The answers are unknown, yet the unknown itself becomes soothing, a quiet lull that encourages the mind to wander without urgency. Every surface, every shadow, every careful alignment of the Callanish stones invites patience and calm observation. The scale of the stones, the isolation of the moor, and the rhythm of the evening create a sense of timelessness. Your thoughts drift gently, moving with the wind, guided by the quiet power of these monumental stones. The great stone rings of Callanish are more than a circle of stones. They are a place to slow down, to observe, and to reflect. They offer a gentle connection to ancient human ambition, patience, and wonder. Standing among them, the mind relaxes, the heart slows, and you find yourself carried softly into a reflective, serene state. The stones, silent and immovable, become companions in calm, guiding your thoughts across centuries, across landscapes, and into the quiet depth of contemplation. In the fading light, the stones stand like watchful guardians. The air grows softer, the wind more gentle. You feel the calm embrace of history, the measured patience of human hands, and the enduring mystery that has made Callanish a place of fascination for thousands of years. Time stretches slowly, and you are content to move with its rhythm, to wander quietly among the stones, to observe, to breathe, and to be present in this place where human ambition and mystery meet in enduring harmony. The petrified human shapes of Mount Sanqing. High in the misty peaks of Mount Sanqing, in the serene landscapes of Jiangxi, China, there exists a phenomenon both eerie and mesmerizing. Amidst jagged cliffs and forested ridges, towering stone formations rise like frozen figures, their shapes hauntingly reminiscent of humans. From a distance, the mountains themselves seem to be inhabited, not by living people, but by ancient echoes of life, etched in rock. As you wander closer, the shapes take on distinct forms. Some appear as solitary figures, standing with quiet dignity, hands clasped, or faces tilted skyward. Others form groups, huddled together in gestures of conversation, as if engaged in eternal discourse. The stone is rough, weathered by wind and rain over countless centuries, yet the essence of human form remains, sculpted with a grace that both surprises and unnerves. You notice the subtle details, the curve of a shoulder, the suggestion of a knee, the tilt of a head. The rock has endured storms, earthquakes, and time itself, yet somehow these forms remain. Each figure invites the mind to imagine the story behind it. Were they intended as memorials, markers for pilgrims, or are they the result of the mountain itself taking on human likeness, a slow and deliberate shaping over millennia? The answer is unknown, and that mystery carries a calm weight, a gentle pull that encourages quiet reflection. The surrounding forest moves softly with the wind. Leaves rustle, branches sway, and the distant cry of birds punctuates the stillness. Your footsteps are muted by moss and soft earth, allowing the environment to breathe with you. Time stretches here in a gentle rhythm, measured not in hours or minutes, but in the slow accumulation of years, centuries, and millennia. You feel yourself slowing in response, your breathing deepening, your mind drifting gently like the mist that coils around the peaks. Each petrified human shape feels unique, yet together they form a landscape that is oddly social, almost alive in its silence. You might imagine a gathering at sunrise, the first light casting long shadows over the stone forms, highlighting their contours, their curves, their presence. Or a quiet night, when the mist thickens and the shapes blend into the darkness, leaving only a suggestion of form and posture for the imagination to trace. The stone seems to hum softly under the weight of centuries. You find yourself tracing paths between the formations, following the natural lines of the mountain, discovering smaller, almost hidden shapes tucked into nooks and crannies. Some resemble seated figures, contemplative and serene. Others are more dynamic, with extended limbs or raised arms, as though captured mid-motion in a story long since forgotten. The mountain itself seems alive with narrative, but it whispers only to those who move slowly, who observe quietly, who allow the mind to wander with the rhythm of the land. Looking out across the horizon, the peaks of Sanqing stretch endlessly. Mist swirls, clouds drift, and the sunlight filters through in soft golden shafts. The petrified figures are bathed in this light, their stone surfaces glowing gently, revealing textures, cracks, and subtle coloration that make each form distinct. You feel a quiet connection to the immense scale of time and geology, the patient, deliberate shaping of stone, and the mystery of why these human forms remain so clearly etched for all to see. Your imagination begins to wander gently. Perhaps these figures were once people, or perhaps they were spirits, or perhaps the mountain simply shaped itself in a form that mirrors humanity. The mind floats between possibilities, without urgency. You begin to understand that the unknown itself is part of the calm, part of the serenity that fills Mount Sanqing. The unanswered questions become companions rather than sources of tension. As you walk along the stone paths, the mountain seems to breathe with you. Every step is cushioned by moss and earth. Every glance is met with a new perspective of the petrified shapes. The figures seem to move as the light changes, shadows stretching, fading, and returning in a slow, hypnotic dance. It is as if the mountain itself is alive in quiet reflection, inviting you to slow, observe, and rest within its presence. Evening descends gently. The mist thickens, folding the shapes into soft gray silhouettes. The wind drops, leaving only a hushed stillness. You feel the vastness of history and the intimacy of human form coexisting in these petrified figures. Their silence is not empty, but filled with memory, patience, and the slow heartbeat of the earth itself. Standing among them, you are aware of your own smallness, yet there is no fear. Instead, there is calm, a gentle understanding of being part of something far larger than yourself. The mountain, the stones, and the petrified shapes of humans are a quiet reminder of endurance, of transformation, and of the mysteries that time preserves when it moves with careful, deliberate patience. As night deepens, the forms begin to dissolve into shadows, yet their presence lingers in the mind, a slow, meditative rhythm that carries you gently toward quiet reflection and rest. You leave the mountain with a sense of calm wonder, your thoughts moving softly with the mist, your breath in sync with the timeless pace of the petrified figures, and your mind embraced by the serene, mysterious stillness of Mount Sanqing, the forgotten rock tombs of Ma'dan Saleh. In the heart of the harsh, wind-swept deserts of Saudi Arabia, carved into the rugged sandstone cliffs, lie the forgotten tombs of Ma'dan Saleh. These silent structures, weathered by centuries of sun, wind, and sand, hold stories that the world has almost forgotten. As you approach, the desert stretches endlessly in every direction, a golden sea of dunes interrupted only by the abrupt rise of jagged cliffs, their surfaces etched with patterns of nature and human hands alike. The tombs themselves are majestic, yet unassuming. They are not towering monuments in a bustling city, but quiet, hidden sanctuaries, tucked into the folds of the rocks, where the past lingers in stillness. Each facade, carved with precision and patience, tells a tale of those who once walked here, rulers, guardians, perhaps families whose names are lost to time. The intricate geometric patterns, the symbolic engravings, and the understated elegance of doorways and niches speak of a civilization deeply connected to its environment, to its beliefs, and to its own sense of eternity. Walking closer, you notice the subtleties in the carvings. Some are deeply etched, enduring centuries of erosion, while others are faint, whispering their presence only to those who look carefully. You might see a small carved figure, a symbol of protection, or a faint line that hints at the ceremonial significance of the tomb. These details invite the mind to wander, to imagine the lives that intersected with this place. Rituals performed in quiet reverence, footsteps of mourners on sandy floors, voices swallowed by the expanse of the desert. The air is dry but calm, carrying the faint scent of sand and stone. The sun casts long shadows across the tombs, emphasizing their contours, their crevices, and the textures of the weathered rock. Light and shadow play across the facades, revealing details that might be missed at first glance. The delicate balance of symmetry, the subtle imperfections that make each tomb unique, the quiet artistry of a people who built not for grandiosity, but for remembrance and connection. You wander from tomb to tomb, noticing differences and similarities. Some are grander, adorned with more complex facades. Others are smaller, humble and private, as if meant for a quiet soul to rest undisturbed. The spaces between them are filled with silence, punctuated only by the whisper of wind brushing against stone, the distant cry of a desert bird, or the subtle crunch of your own steps on scattered pebbles. It is a rhythm that encourages patience, reflection, and a gentle slowing of thought. Inside the tombs, the temperature drops slightly, and the darkness deepens. Each chamber holds a sacred hush. Your eyes adjust to the dim light, revealing carvings that climb walls, niches that once held offerings, and spaces that still seem to breathe with the memory of lives long past. There is no need to rush. The tombs exist in a timeless moment, and here you can align your pace with theirs. You might imagine ceremonies, quiet prayers, or the careful placement of treasures meant to accompany the departed into the next world. Every shadow, every curve of stone, seems to hum with a muted energy, guiding your thoughts gently, almost imperceptibly toward calm. Outside, the desert stretches again, vast and still. The tombs rise from the cliffs like echoes of forgotten grandeur, their forms softened by the haze of heat and distance. You walk along the edges, observing how the sun catches corners and edges, how shadows shift with every passing hour. Each moment brings a new perspective, a subtle change in appearance, a reminder that even stone interacts with light, time, and the elements. The stories of Ma'dan Saleh are not told in books or recorded in the modern world. They linger in the spaces between carvings, in the hollow chambers, in the silent courtyards where the wind carries no sound but the faintest brush of history. Here you can feel a connection to a world both ancient and serene, a civilization whose traces endure not through spectacle, but through quiet, deliberate permanence. As the sun lowers, the tombs take on a golden hue, the shadows lengthen, and the desert exhales in warm currents of air. Your mind begins to slow, syncing with the rhythm of the place. Time feels suspended. You sense the patience required to carve such monuments, the reverence embedded in every detail, and the calm that envelops anyone who moves quietly among them. The forgotten rock tombs of Madanin Sala are more than stone. They are a bridge to the past, an invitation to reflect, to wander slowly, and to listen to the soft echoes of history carried on the desert wind. The carvings, the chambers, the spaces between, they are alive in their stillness, offering a gentle, hypnotic rhythm that guides you toward quiet thought and soft, steady breathing. By the time you leave, the desert sky deepens into shades of purple and blue. The tombs remain behind, eternal and silent, yet their presence lingers in the mind, like a soft melody. You carry with you a sense of timelessness, a gentle awareness of those who once lived here, and a quiet meditative calm that follows you as you step away from the cliffs and into the vast, endless desert. The creeping stone statues of San Agustin. Deep in the misty highlands of Colombia, surrounded by rolling hills and fertile valleys, lie the mysterious stone statues of San Agustin. Unlike typical monuments that announce themselves with grandeur, these statues seem to move slowly through time, almost creeping from the earth itself. Carved from volcanic rock, weathered by centuries of wind and rain, each figure stands in quiet defiance of both nature and human understanding. As you step closer, the scale of these statues begins to impress itself on your mind. Some rise to over 6 feet tall, others are more subtle, barely emerging from the grass and earth that have reclaimed them over centuries. Their faces are enigmatic, frozen in expressions that defy categorization, a mixture of serenity, alertness, even faint menace. It is easy to imagine these figures slowly observing the land, silently witnessing the passage of countless generations. The terrain around them is uneven, dotted with ancient burial mounds and terraces that hint at a long-lost civilization. The air is damp, carrying the scent of rich soil, moss, and occasional flowering plants blending the natural with the crafted. Each statue is placed deliberately, as if part of an intricate pattern, yet the logic behind their arrangement eludes modern understanding. You feel the pull of history here, a quiet insistence that lingers without explanation, without rush. Walking among the statues, you notice the attention to detail. Some figures hold symbolic objects, others have arms that reach forward or cross their chests. The carvings suggest spiritual significance, rituals perhaps tied to the land, the sky, and the cycles of life and death. There is a rhythm to the placement and the postures, a harmony that encourages contemplation rather than hasty observation. It is as if the stone itself guides your pace, slowing your thoughts, urging your breathing to match the gentle cadence of the hills. The statue's presence is hypnotic. With each step, your eyes trace the lines of their carved features, high cheekbones, almond-shaped eyes, intricate patterns etched across shoulders and torsos. Some carvings are faint, softened by the passing centuries, while others remain sharp, stubbornly preserving the intentions of the sculptors. You imagine the hands that chipped and smoothed each form, the quiet focus, the careful devotion. Each figure is an echo of its maker, a silent story etched in stone. There is no sense of hurry in this place. Even the wildlife moves slowly. Birds perch atop the statues, their calls faint and intermittent. The wind brushes softly across the grass, rustling the leaves of nearby trees. Every detail, from the moss clinging to the feet of the statues, to the distant hills rising and falling like waves, contributes to a meditative atmosphere that draws you inward, away from the noise of the modern world. The statues are not just objects to be seen, they are companions in quiet reflection. You might imagine ceremonies that once took place here, chants, offerings, dances and prayers performed under the open sky, performed for deities or ancestors whose names are lost. The energy is subtle, carried in the stone, in the very land, a whisper that encourages patience, attentiveness, and a slow, gentle awareness of the present moment. As you wander from figure to figure, you notice how the light changes with the sun's movement. Shadows stretch and shorten, revealing features that seemed hidden moments before. The statues shift in appearance as your perspective shifts. What seemed solemn from one angle might appear contemplative from another. You feel an intimacy with them, a sense of connection that is quiet, almost imperceptible, yet persistent. The patterns in the landscape, the arrangement of stones, the slight inclines and dips of the terrain, all suggest careful planning, an awareness of geography and energy that feels almost beyond human comprehension. You sense that the statues are more than guardians or memorials. They are markers, guides, perhaps a map of belief or memory encoded in stone. The more you observe, the more the environment itself seems alive with subtle stories waiting to be understood. Time passes gently here. Minutes stretch and merge, and your thoughts slow to match the rhythm of the land. The statues encourage reflection and acceptance that some knowledge may remain elusive. The mystery is not frustrating but soothing, a reminder that patience and observation can reveal layers invisible to a hurried glance. By the time you leave, the stone figures remain in quiet vigil. Their gaze, though fixed in expression, seems to follow you for a moment before fading back into silence. You carry with you a sense of calm, a quiet connection to an ancient civilization whose essence endures in volcanic rock and careful craftsmanship. The creeping stone statues of San Agustin are not merely relics, they are enduring witnesses to time, patient and deliberate, inviting those who approach to slow down, breathe deeply, and drift gently into contemplation. In their stillness, there is movement of thought, movement of awareness, and a slow, comforting passage into restfulness. The black megaliths of Rio Grande, deep within the dense, verdant canopy of the Amazon, along the winding waters of the Rio Grande, lie enormous black megaliths. Unlike the familiar stone structures of more studied civilizations, these monoliths are unpolished, darkened by centuries of exposure to sun, rain, and the thick, humid air. They emerge from the forest floor in unexpected clusters, their sheer scale and weight hinting at human effort of unimaginable magnitude. Walking along the riverbank, you notice the contrast between the living forest and these silent, immovable giants. The trees sway with the soft whisper of wind, and the distant calls of tropical birds echo through the canopy. Yet amidst this vibrant life, the megaliths remain eerily still, ancient sentinels, rooted in time, unyielding and mysterious. The stones are immense. Some rise 20 feet or more, towering over the undergrowth, while others lay partially submerged, their black surfaces slick with moss and lichen. As you move closer, the texture of the rock becomes apparent, rough, jagged edges, softened by centuries of weathering, yet still bearing faint traces of carving, marks that might be symbolic, patterns that suggest intentionality, or perhaps messages lost to history. Each megalith feels deliberate, positioned as though part of a larger plan, an arrangement whose purpose is hidden beneath layers of earth and foliage. You can almost imagine the builders, moving stones heavier than any single human could manage, working in unison with methods now forgotten, guided by knowledge that may have vanished with the passage of time. The forest adds to the sense of quiet awe. Sunlight filters through thick leaves, casting shifting shadows that dance across the stone surfaces. A faint mist rises from the river, curling around the bases of the monoliths, softening their edges and enhancing their mysterious presence. Every step you take is cushioned by fallen leaves, a gentle reminder of the slow, steady rhythm of nature. Some stones are upright, others fallen or partially buried, suggesting centuries of the shifting earth, natural erosion, or perhaps deliberate movement. Patterns appear when viewed from certain angles, lines of stones forming subtle arcs or pathways, seeming almost ceremonial in nature. Your eyes trace these shapes slowly, letting curiosity linger without forcing conclusions. The silence of the site is profound. There is no bustling tourist presence here, no signs to direct your gaze. The megaliths are free from human interference, allowing your mind to wander, imagining their original context. Were they markers of celestial events, points of spiritual significance, or tombs of forgotten leaders? The answers are not handed to you. They are left in the air, in the stones, in the quiet spaces between each monolith. Even the small details draw attention. Cracks in the black stone reveal lighter veins running through the rock, faint signs of mineral deposits that shimmer when touched by light. Tiny insects and lianas make their homes in the crevices, reminding you of the interconnectedness of life and history. Each stone seems alive in its own quiet, patient way, holding centuries of secrets within its mass. The more time you spend among the megaliths, the slower your thoughts become. The forest seems to breathe with you, and your mind adopts the patient pace of the stones themselves. You notice the faint sound of the river, the rustling of leaves, and the occasional cry of a distant bird, blending seamlessly with the quiet presence of these giant stones. Walking among them, you can almost sense the hands that placed them here, the labor, the intention, the devotion. You imagine entire communities gathering, lifting, and positioning these immense rocks, guided by beliefs, stories, or knowledge that may never be rediscovered. Each stone carries the weight, not just of its physical mass, but of history itself, silent yet heavy with meaning. As you continue to explore, the scale of the site impresses itself on you more fully. The alignment of stones, the subtle spacing, and the sheer variety of shapes suggest that this was not a random assembly. Some monoliths have carved surfaces, worn patterns hinting at rituals, while others remain raw and untouched, creating a contrast that is both striking and mysterious. The forest canopy shifts with the afternoon light, shadows lengthen, and a quiet sense of timelessness settles over the site. You walk slowly, letting the megaliths guide your pace, letting your breathing match the rhythm of the natural world. Every movement feels intentional, every glance carries weight, as if the stones themselves are asking for patience, observation, and contemplation. In their silence, there is a presence, not threatening, but compelling. You feel watched, not in a human sense, but in the sense that these stones have been here longer than any living memory, observing the cycles of sun and rain, wind and river, life and decay. They are reminders of the ingenuity and determination of those who came before, as well as the enduring mysteries that remain unsolved. By the time you leave the Rego Grande megaliths, there is a gentle calm that follows. The air feels cleaner, your mind slower, your thoughts quieter. The stones remain as they always have, their secrets intact, patiently waiting for those who approach with curiosity, respect, and a willingness to embrace the unknown. The black megaliths of Rego Grande are not merely artifacts, they are guardians of memory, anchors in time, and companions in quiet reflection. In their presence, you move slower, think deeper, and drift gently toward a restful state, carried by the soft rhythm of history, nature, and the enduring human fascination with the monumental and mysterious. The rock-cut giants of Petra. As you step into the ancient city of Petra, the warm, dusty air brushes softly against your skin, carrying the faint scent of earth and stone. Nestled within deep canyons of rose-colored sandstone, the city rises like a hidden jewel, carved by hands long gone, and shaped over centuries by wind, water, and time. Among the most remarkable features are the colossal rock-cut facades, known as the Giants of Petra. These immense structures are neither statues in the conventional sense, nor mere tombs. They are monumental presences, carved directly from the living rock, their size commanding both awe and quiet contemplation. Walking slowly along the narrow pathways between the canyon walls, the shadows stretch and shrink as the sun shifts. The giants loom silently, some nearly 50 feet high, their faces gazing down with an enigmatic serenity. Their expressions, worn yet dignified, hint at purpose and meaning, though what exactly that may have been is lost to history. You feel a gentle pull, a quiet invitation to linger, to observe, to consider. The stones themselves carry texture and life. Every carved line, every eroded corner, tells a story of time, of sandstorms, rain, and the patient, persistent hands of the Nabateans who shaped them. Walking close, your fingers brush lightly along the smooth surfaces, feeling the coolness hidden beneath the sun's warmth, imagining the careful chiseling that took weeks, months, perhaps years. Petra is alive with echoes, the distant whisper of wind through the canyon, the soft scrape of your footsteps over stone, even the occasional bird gliding through the air, all merge into a tranquil soundtrack that softens the enormity of the giants around you. Their presence is imposing, yet calming, grounding you in the moment, encouraging a slow and thoughtful pace. Some of the facades bear intricate carvings, columns, niches, and geometric patterns. Others are simpler, commanding attention through sheer scale rather than ornamentation. Each giant seems to have a personality, as though the rock itself has remembered the intentions of its creators, and silently communicates that memory to anyone willing to observe. Walking along the pathways, you notice subtle alignments and groupings. Certain facades face each other, forming lines that suggest ceremony or observation. Some are positioned in shadowed corners, others bathed in sunlight. The giants seem aware of the sun's path, as though the Nabateans had designed not only with stone, but with light and shadow in mind. As your steps slow, the mind begins to wander, imagining the lives of those who lived among these giants. Traders, priests, artisans, and travelers, all moving in harmony with the city, their daily lives intertwined with these immense stone guardians. You can sense their reverence, their awe, and perhaps even their fear. The giants have watched silently, through countless generations, witnessing the ebb and flow of human life in this secluded canyon. The air is cool now, filtering through narrow canyon walls. Dust swirls lazily in sunbeams, casting ephemeral patterns over the carved surfaces. The giants' expressions appear to shift with the changing light, sometimes solemn, sometimes almost gentle, reminding you that these stones are more than monuments. They are silent companions, timeless observers, patient witnesses to history. Some giants bear the marks of centuries of erosion, their noses chipped, surfaces pitted, and edges softened. Yet these imperfections lend them character, a subtle humanity that bridges the gap between the living and the carved. You sense the care and skill required to create them, the devotion of artists who merged stone, intention, and cultural memory. The quiet encourages reflection. You walk slowly from one facade to another, pausing often, letting the scale and presence of the stones fill your senses. Every step is deliberate, every breath measured. The canyon narrows, widening again, guiding your attention naturally, almost imperceptibly, toward the heart of the ancient city. As you linger, a gentle understanding begins to form. These are more than monuments or tombs. They are embodiments of human ambition, devotion, and creativity, preserved in stone for millennia. Their enormity is matched by their quiet dignity, inviting patience, contemplation, and a connection to the past. With each passing moment, the mind grows calmer. The giants seem to absorb the world's noise, radiating stillness back into your own thoughts. Even in their silence, there is a narrative, the narrative of endurance, artistry, and the fragile yet enduring imprint of humanity. Eventually, the sun begins its slow descent, casting long shadows over the canyon. The giant's features soften, the warm light blending with the cool stone, and the quiet deepens. You pause one final time, letting the weight and presence of these stone colossi settle in your mind. The rock-cut giants of Petra are not just remnants of a long-gone civilization. They are guardians of memory, monumental witnesses to human aspiration, patience, and artistry. In their shadow, your thoughts slow, your breathing eases, and a gentle calm carries you, as if the stones themselves guide you toward quiet reflection, serenity, and a restful mind. The mysterious giant slab of Al-Nasla, imagine, standing in the heart of the vast desert of Saudi Arabia, where the heat shimmers above the sand, and the wind whispers softly against your skin. Among the rocky outcrops, there is a sight that arrests your attention, a single enormous stone slab, perfectly split down its center. This is Al-Nasla, a place where nature and mystery collide, leaving us with a silent riddle carved over countless centuries. The slab itself is monumental. Stretching several meters in length and width, its surface is smooth, flat, and unnaturally precise, almost as if some unseen hand had placed a perfect line through the rock. The fissure divides the stone down the middle, straight as an arrow, yet the rest of the rock seems untouched, suspended in a balance that defies easy explanation. You can walk along the edge of the split, your fingertips brushing against the rough, ancient stone, feeling the subtle vibrations of time itself. Around the slab, the desert stretches in quiet, undisturbed expanses. Tiny stones and weathered pebbles crunch underfoot, and the wind carries the faint, dusty scent of earth and mineral. The silence here is almost sacred, broken only by the occasional call of a distant bird, or the whisper of sand shifting across the surface of the desert floor. The slab seems to dominate the space, commanding attention, demanding patience, and inviting contemplation. As you examine it, your mind begins to wander. How did this split occur? Was it the work of natural erosion, centuries of wind, water, and temperature changes working together in perfect harmony? Or was there an intelligence behind it, ancient hands that knew exactly how to separate stone so flawlessly, leaving the rest intact? Archaeologists and geologists debate endlessly, their theories abundant, yet none can fully explain the uncanny precision of this natural, or perhaps not entirely natural, phenomenon. Walking slowly along the length of the slab, you notice the way sunlight plays across its surface. In the early morning, the shadows from the fissure are long and narrow, slicing the stone into geometric patterns. By midday, the line softens, the edges glowing gently in the heat of the sun, as if the stone itself is breathing with the rhythm of the desert. Each angle, each glint of light, reinforces the mystery, making the rock feel alive in some subtle, ineffable way. The surrounding landscape is quiet, undisturbed, as if the desert itself is holding its breath. Small cracks in nearby rocks echo the perfect split of Al-Nasla, yet none possess its striking symmetry or its sense of purpose. The ground beneath your feet feels ancient, imprinted with countless footsteps that have long since faded, leaving you to contemplate the stone in its solitude. You may pause for a moment, close your eyes, and imagine the forces that could have shaped such a slab. You can almost hear the faint grinding of stone on stone, the patient, imperceptible push of geological time. Or perhaps the soft chisel marks of human hands, lost to history, echoing faintly across the centuries. The mind begins to drift gently, weaving stories of ancient civilizations, their rituals, and their reverence for stones that seem to carry memory itself. The slab split seems to invite interaction, urging careful exploration. You run your hand lightly along the fissure, feeling the rough texture of the break, contrasting with the smoothness of the untouched surface. There is a rhythm here, subtle but persistent, as if the stone itself is guiding your thoughts, urging a calm, slow reflection. You feel time stretching, each moment expanding to fill the quiet air around you. The desert wind stirs gently, dust motes floating lazily across the surface. The slab casts a long solitary shadow, stretching across the sand, merging with the shapes of smaller rocks nearby. It is a reminder that even in vast isolation, the presence of the al-Nasla slab is magnetic, commanding attention and demanding quiet curiosity. As the afternoon sun begins to dip toward the horizon, the colors shift. The stone takes on a warmer hue, amber and gold, glowing in the soft light. The split looks sharper, more deliberate, a perfect seam that has endured the elements for millennia. You feel a sense of reverence, a calm wonder, and an almost imperceptible connection to the distant past. This stone, split yet whole, embodies patience, endurance, and the silent witness of time. Here in this quiet desert, with the soft hum of wind as a companion, the slab becomes more than a geological curiosity. It is a symbol, a monument, to the unknown. It reminds us that not all of history is written in texts or preserved in tombs. Some of it lies hidden in the rocks, in the landscapes, in the perfect, mysterious lines left by forces, natural or human, that we can only imagine. Every glance along the fissure, every careful step around its edges, draws you deeper into calm reflection. The slab seems to absorb the noise of the world, offering a subtle tranquility in return. You begin to breathe more slowly, letting the desert and the stone guide your thoughts. It is an invitation to pause, to marvel, and to consider the vast expanse of time that shaped this place. As the sun continues to descend, shadows lengthen, and the warmth of the day fades into a gentle evening chill. The slab stands silently, a quiet guardian of secrets and stories untold. Its mystery remains, unsolved yet profoundly compelling, an eternal reminder that the world still holds wonders beyond explanation. The giant slab of al-Nasla does not shout its presence, but it does not need to. Its quiet, commanding stillness, its uncanny precision, and its timeless solitude invite patience, reflection, and calm. It is a place to linger, to imagine, to wonder, and to drift into a slow, gentle serenity that follows you long after you leave the desert behind. The forgotten cliff tombs of Myra, high above the turquoise waters of the Mediterranean, where the sun casts its warm golden light on the rugged cliffs of Lycia, lie the silent tombs of Myra, carved directly into the sheer rock faces. These ancient chambers stand as solemn witnesses to a civilization that lived, loved, and passed beyond the reach of time. Their presence is quiet but imposing, and as you gaze upward, it is impossible not to feel the weight of centuries pressing gently against your mind. The cliffside rises before you, jagged and majestic, yet there is a delicate artistry in its contours. Among the natural formations, human hands have shaped spaces of reverence, spaces meant to honor the dead. Each tomb is carved meticulously, with rectangular entrances and elaborate facades that echo the architectural styles of a society whose stories are mostly lost to history. Stone steps, often worn and fragile, lead upward, suggesting journeys once taken by mourners, climbing to pay respects to loved ones, now resting in silence. As you approach the tombs, your footsteps crunch softly against loose gravel. The air here is cool, carrying faint traces of the sea below. The cliffs exude a certain calm, a sense that life and death coexist here in an almost meditative balance. You pause at the threshold of one tomb, tracing the carved patterns etched into the limestone. Geometric shapes, floral motifs, and symbolic reliefs tell stories without words, stories that hint at a culture deeply connected to both the earth and the heavens above. The interiors of these tombs are small, intimate spaces, dimly lit by the filtered sunlight spilling through the entrances. The air is still, almost sacred. Each chamber holds the faint, lingering echo of lives long past. Perhaps a family gathered here centuries ago, placing offerings, whispering prayers, or simply sitting in silence as they contemplated the mysteries of life and death. The stones absorbed the quiet, holding it close, allowing only your imagination to wander freely within their embrace. You can almost feel the rhythm of history vibrating through the walls. The tombs were not only resting places but statements of human endurance and artistry. They speak of a people who revered the journey beyond life and sought to leave a lasting imprint on the landscape itself. Every carved line, every chiseled figure, whispers of devotion, care, and a profound connection to the natural world surrounding them. Outside, the cliffs stretch endlessly, meeting the horizon, where sea and sky merge. The wind brushes past your ears with a soft whispering sound, as though the cliffs themselves are sharing secrets they have held for millennia. The distant waves break gently against the rocky shore below, a rhythmic counterpoint to the stillness above, and you find yourself breathing more slowly, feeling the calmness seep into your chest with each inhalation. The tomb facades are remarkable in their variety. Some appear as miniature temples, complete with columns and decorative pediments, while others are simpler, rectangular recesses, cut directly into the rock face. Their arrangement along the cliffs seems almost haphazard at first glance, yet there is a subtle harmony in their placement. It is as though the builders had an innate understanding of both the stone and the landscape, allowing each tomb to coexist gracefully with the natural formations around it. Walking along the cliff paths, you notice shadows deepening as the sun lowers. Light filters through the carved openings, casting long, quiet lines across the stone floors. These tombs have witnessed countless suns rise and set, countless seasons pass, and yet they remain steadfast. The air is filled with a calm that almost encourages you to slow your heartbeat, to pause your thoughts, and to simply exist within the rhythm of this ancient place. As your gaze moves from tomb to tomb, you begin to imagine the lives of those buried here. Merchants, priests, and families whose names have faded into the sands of time. What were their daily routines, their dreams, their fears? The stone keeps its silence, letting only your imagination paint the scenes, and in that quiet, the tombs become more than architecture. They become portals to contemplation, to reflection, to understanding the delicate fragility of human existence. The cliffs themselves are alive in subtle ways. Tiny tufts of hardy vegetation cling to crevices, and the wind occasionally stirs loose pebbles that tumble softly down the rock face. Birds wheel in the sky above, their cries echoing faintly, adding a natural rhythm to the stillness. Each element, from the carved stone to the surrounding environment, contributes to a sense of timelessness, a meditative calm that settles gently over anyone who wanders here. You find a quiet ledge to rest, looking down over the waters below and across the horizon. The tomb's shadows stretch long, blending with the natural lines of the cliffs. The light softens as evening approaches, painting the stone in muted tones of pink and gold. The air cools, carrying the scent of salt and earth, and you feel a profound serenity wash over you. Here, in this quiet, unhurried time seems to slow, and you are invited to simply breathe and exist within the ancient rhythms of the world. As night begins to fall, the tombs take on a more mysterious air. The fading light casts the carved facades into stark relief, creating shadows that flicker across the cliffside. The silence deepens, offering space for reflection and contemplation. These tombs, once filled with life, now stand as silent sentinels, guarding their secrets and inviting all who come near to slow down, to notice, and to feel the gentle weight of history. The cliffs of Myra, with their carved tombs and serene heights, offer more than just visual spectacle. They offer a space for calm, for reflection, for immersive stillness. They remind us that even in the midst of our busy, noisy lives, there are places untouched by time, places where the past remains palpable, and where the act of being present becomes a quiet meditation. Here, amid the silent stone and whispering winds, you can let your thoughts drift, your body relax, and your mind settle. The forgotten cliff tombs of Myra are not merely monuments to those who have passed. They are living invitations to slow down, to breathe deeply, and to let the mysteries of the ancient world lull you into a calm, reflective state. The megalith guardians of Ollantaytambo, high in the sacred valley of the Andes, where the Urubamba River winds through terraced fields and jagged mountains, stands the ancient fortress of Ollantaytambo. Its walls, towering and precise, are composed of massive stones, some weighing over 50 tons, interlocked without mortar. They rise with an almost reverent silence, and if you pause long enough, you can almost hear the faint heartbeat of the people who carved them, moved them, and built this monumental sanctuary in the distant past. As you approach the site, the mountains seem to lean closer, embracing the fortress as if it were a child of the earth. The air is cool, scented faintly with wild grass and soil, carrying the distant murmur of the river far below. Every step along the narrow pathways between terraces is cushioned with the soft sound of history, echoing not with noise, but with presence, the silent resonance of lives that shaped stone with patience and devotion. The stones themselves are astounding. Each megalith is polished smooth, yet the surfaces bear subtle marks of human hands, the traces of chisels and ropes used centuries ago. Their sheer size is humbling. Standing before them, you feel small, almost insignificant, as if the walls themselves are watching, quiet guardians of knowledge long forgotten. You may run your fingers gently across the cool surfaces, imagining the immense effort required to quarry, transport, and lift them into place, with only rudimentary tools and unmatched ingenuity. The layout of Ollantaytambo is precise yet organic. Terraces climb the hillsides like a natural extension of the landscape. Gates and niches align with celestial events, guiding the sun's light through stone corridors in patterns only visible at certain times of the year. It is as if the fortress was alive, breathing with the rhythms of the cosmos, aware of the cycles of nature, and attuned to the human need for both protection and spiritual connection. Each wall, each doorway, carries a quiet authority, a sense that the builders intended more than mere defense. They intended to communicate across time. As you walk along the upper terraces, the valley opens below in breathtaking panorama. Small farms dot the landscape, their neat plots echoing the ancient agricultural ingenuity of the Inca. Yet it is the fortress itself that holds your attention, the colossal stones rising like silent sentinels. Some stones bear weathered carvings, subtle geometric patterns, or faint inscriptions, their meanings obscured by centuries of wind, rain, and human passage. You can almost hear whispers from the past, faint messages left in stone, meant only for those who pause, listen, and imagine. Time seems to stretch here. The fortress has witnessed centuries of change, of conquest and survival, yet it remains steadfast. You imagine the ceremonies that may have taken place on these terraces, priests or nobles moving through sacred spaces, offering prayers to the mountain spirits. Perhaps warriors trained along the walls, the sound of their boots on stone, mingling with chants, and the distant rush of river waters. Every stone holds a story, a fragment of human ambition, devotion, and resilience, waiting quietly to be sensed by those willing to slow down and observe. The air carries a profound calm. Clouds drift lazily over the peaks, their shadows moving slowly across the terraces and walls. Birds circle high above, their calls echoing faintly, blending with the soft rustle of wind through the grasses and the distant murmur of the river. Here, in this elevated stillness, your mind can wander gently, tracing the steps of those who built, lived, and worked within this fortress. You can almost feel their presence, not as ghosts, but as echoes, soft and patient, guiding your imagination along the contours of their stone world. Each megalith has a presence that is both tangible and mysterious. Standing close to a wall, you notice subtle variations in color and texture, the interplay of sunlight and shadow, revealing hidden contours. Some stones are perfectly rectangular, others more irregular, yet all fit together seamlessly. The precision is astonishing, and the thought of how these stones were moved from quarries high in the Andes to their resting places within the fortress fills your mind with quiet wonder. Every crevice, every joint, speaks of mastery over both stone and terrain, a skill that seems almost impossible, yet undeniably real. The fortress is not only a monument to human ingenuity, but also to endurance. It has survived earthquakes, weathering, and centuries of human activity, yet its walls remain firm, its terraces intact. Walking along the upper paths, you can almost feel the subtle vibrations of the earth, the pulse of a landscape that has shaped and been shaped by human hands. The stones themselves are stoic, unchanging, yet filled with the silent energy of countless generations who labored here, celebrated here, and lived here. As the sun begins to lower, casting long shadows across terraces and walls, the fortress takes on an almost ethereal glow. The warm light touches the edges of stones, highlighting their immense size and intricate placement. Your gaze drifts across the valley, following the river as it winds toward distant mountains. The fortress, with its colossal guardians, seems to breathe, holding the calm of the Andes and the weight of history in perfect balance. Here, your thoughts slow, your breathing deepens, and the quiet majesty of Ollantaytambo invites you to linger, to explore with your imagination, and to feel the timeless presence of stone guardians watching over the valley. The terraces, walls, and gates all seem to speak in their own quiet language, not with words, but with proportion, alignment, and presence. Each corner, each passage, invites you to contemplate, to observe, and to feel a profound connection to the past. There is no rush here, no urgency, only the gentle, steady unfolding of time, through stone. The fortress allows you to move at its pace, a rhythm dictated by centuries of patient labor and enduring vision. Evening approaches, the wind softens, and the shadows stretch farther, painting the walls with a calm chiaroscuro. Your senses attune to the details, the slight unevenness of a terrace edge, the tiny tufts of vegetation that cling to crevices, the distant birds returning to roost. All of it contributes to a gentle, immersive stillness. The megalith guardians of Ollantaytambo are not just monuments, they are companions to reflection, to quiet observation, to an almost meditative exploration of what it means to leave something eternal upon the earth. As darkness gently falls, the walls remain, steadfast and silent, their immense presence a reminder of human determination and ingenuity. You are left with a sense of calm, of reverence, and of quiet curiosity. Each stone, each terrace, each shadowed corridor encourages your mind to wander slowly, dreamily, and peacefully, guiding you through the story of a people who shaped both landscape and imagination with patience, precision, and a touch of the mysterious. The sunken obelisks of Aswan Quarry. Nestled along the banks of the Nile, the Aswan Quarry holds silent giants that have waited for millennia beneath the river's calm waters. The quarry is vast, the landscape of granite cliffs that catch the sun's light and throw it back in warm pink hues, contrasting with the deep green of the Nile below. Among these cliffs lie enormous obelisks, some partially carved, some abandoned mid-creation, their unfinished surfaces hinting at the enormous ambition of the ancient architects who dreamed of erecting them as monuments to gods, kings, and eternity. As you step closer to the edge, the water shimmers with reflections of the sky, blurring the line between stone and river. You can almost feel the quiet determination that must have filled the hands and minds of the craftsmen who chiseled these monoliths, some weighing hundreds of tons, using nothing but stone tools, ropes, and ingenuity. Each cut, each smoothened surface, represents hours, perhaps years, of patient, meticulous labor. Standing here, you can almost hear the echo of hammers striking chisels, the rhythm of human effort absorbed into the very bedrock of the quarry. The unfinished obelisks are mesmerizing. Some lie partially embedded in the granite bed, their bases firmly anchored, as if the earth itself resisted their movement. Others have toppled over time, broken sections resting against the cliffs or submerged beneath the Nile's gentle current. These colossal stones seem to carry a weight, not only of physical mass, but of history itself, the unspoken stories of ambition, failure, and the pursuit of immortality carved into their surfaces. Running your hand across the smooth granite, you can sense the slow, deliberate movements that shape them, each groove a record of human thought, translated into stone. The quarry stretches farther than the eye can see, a silent expanse dotted with mysterious indentations and partially hewn blocks. Some stones have markings, possibly measurements or guides left by ancient planners, while others show no signs of human intent. Yet their mere presence sparks questions. How did these massive stones come to be here? What tools and techniques allowed them to even attempt moving them to construction sites miles away? The air here carries a whisper of mystery, a calm sense that the earth itself holds on to secrets, willing only to reveal them to those who observe patiently. As the sunlight shifts across the quarry, shadows dance along the granite faces, emphasizing cracks, chips, and unfinished lines. There is a serene rhythm to this landscape, a quiet harmony between human endeavor and natural formation. Even as centuries have passed, the granite remains unchanged, bearing witness to the ambition and creativity of those long gone. You can imagine teams of workers chiseling carefully along the stone, guided by overseers, coordinating movements of ropes and pulleys, all in pursuit of monuments that were never completed. Their labor, frozen in time, invites you to contemplate the persistence and patience of human effort. The submerged sections of the obelisks hold a different kind of allure. The Nile, calm and steady, cradles these ancient giants in its waters, softening their edges and giving them an ethereal presence. Light filters through the river, casting a diffused glow over the granite, and the motion of the water lends a gentle fluidity to the stone's rigid form. Here, the unfinished meets the eternal, and it is easy to feel a quiet meditation, imagining the hands that carved, the ropes that strained, and the river that has quietly accepted these heavy burdens over thousands of years. Moving along the edge of the quarry, the scale of these obelisks becomes apparent. Each one is taller than any modern building many people have seen, yet they were conceived and partially created with ingenuity, skill, and unwavering patience. The largest, still partially attached to the bedrock, seems almost alive, a sleeping giant waiting to be awakened, a monument to an ambition that was both audacious and human. Its rough, incomplete surface hints at the final vision, a dream frozen mid-creation, offering a quiet, contemplative pause for the observer. You can almost hear the gentle rustle of the desert wind, mixing with the soft lapping of the river against stone. It is a place that demands patience, observation, and quiet reflection. Every angle, every surface, every indentation in the granite invites curiosity. How were these monoliths intended to be moved? What ceremonies might have marked their creation? What stories did the craftsmen tell to one another as they labored in the blazing sun, their hands blistered, their bodies exhausted, yet their minds focused on eternity? The unfinished obelisks are more than stone. They are echoes of intention, whispers of human ambition, frozen in time. Even submerged, their enormity is evident, reminding you of the audacious dreams of those who came before. Walking along the quarry edge, observing the interplay of sunlight and shadow, feeling the heat of the granite and the gentle breeze, there is a quiet sense of connection across millennia, a silent conversation with people who shaped these stones with care, imagination, and devotion. As evening falls, the sky above the quarry softens into shades of amber and violet, the river reflecting the subtle hues. The obelisks, partially submerged and partially exposed, glow with the muted light of sunset, their edges softened by centuries of wind, rain, and river. The scale of the site, the silence of the river, the grandeur of these incomplete monuments, all of it merges into a serene and meditative experience, inviting you to linger in observation, imagination, and quiet wonder. The sunken obelisks of Aswan Quarry are more than relics of a bygone civilization. They are enduring lessons in patience, creativity, and the beauty of unfinished dreams. Each massive stone holds the quiet energy of ambition, labor, and the mystery of what might have been. To stand here, even in imagination, is to be wrapped in a gentle contemplative stillness, guided through time and human effort, and invited to rest in the serene majesty of these monumental stones. The sunken obelisks of Aswan Quarry. Nestled along the banks of the Nile, the Aswan Quarry holds silent giants that have waited for millennia beneath the river's calm waters. The quarry is vast, the landscape of granite cliffs that catch the sun's light and throw it back in warm pink hues, contrasting with the deep green of the Nile below. Among these cliffs lie enormous obelisks, some partially carved, some abandoned mid-creation, their unfinished surfaces hinting at the enormous ambition of the ancient architects who dreamed of erecting them as monuments to gods, kings, and eternity. As you step closer to the edge, the water shimmers with reflections of the sky, blurring the line between stone and river. You can almost feel the quiet determination that must have filled the hands and minds of the craftsmen who chiseled these monoliths, some weighing hundreds of tons, using nothing but stone tools, ropes, and ingenuity. Each cut, each smoothened surface, represents hours, perhaps years, of patient, meticulous labor. Standing here, you can almost hear the echo of hammers striking chisels, the rhythm of human effort absorbed into the very bedrock of the quarry. The unfinished obelisks are mesmerizing. Some lie partially embedded in the granite bed, their bases firmly anchored as if the earth itself resisted their movement. Others have toppled over time, broken sections resting against the cliffs or submerged beneath the Nile's gentle current. These colossal stones seem to carry a weight not only of physical mass but of history itself, the unspoken stories of ambition, failure, and the pursuit of immortality carved into their surfaces. Running your hand across the smooth granite, you can sense the slow, deliberate movements that shaped them, each groove a record of human thought, translated into stone. The quarry stretches farther than the eye can see, a silent expanse dotted with mysterious indentations and partially hewn blocks. Some stones have markings, possibly measurements or guides left by ancient planners, while others show no signs of human intent. Yet their mere presence sparks questions. How did these massive stones come to be here? What tools and techniques allowed them to even attempt moving them to construction sites miles away? The air here carries a whisper of mystery, a calm sense that the earth itself holds on to secrets, willing only to reveal them to those who observe patiently. As the sunlight shifts across the quarry, shadows dance along the granite faces, emphasizing cracks, chips, and unfinished lines. There is a serene rhythm to this landscape, a quiet harmony between human endeavor and natural formation. Even as centuries have passed, the granite remains unchanged, bearing witness to the ambition and creativity of those long gone. You can imagine teams of workers chiseling carefully along the stone, guided by overseers, coordinating movements of ropes and pulleys, all in pursuit of monuments that were never completed. Their labor, frozen in time, invites you to contemplate the persistence and patience of human effort. The submerged sections of the obelisks hold a different kind of allure. The Nile, calm and steady, cradles these ancient giants in its waters, softening their edges and giving them an ethereal presence. Light filters through the river, casting a diffused glow over the granite, and the motion of the water lends a gentle fluidity to the stone's rigid form. Here, the unfinished meets the eternal, and it is easy to feel a quiet meditation, imagining the hands that carved, the ropes that strained, and the river that has quietly accepted these heavy burdens over thousands of years. Moving along the edge of the quarry, the scale of these obelisks becomes apparent. Each one is taller than any modern building many people have seen, yet they were conceived and partially created with ingenuity, skill, and unwavering patience. The largest, still partially attached to the bedrock, seems almost alive, a sleeping giant waiting to be awakened, a monument to an ambition that was both audacious and human. Its rough, incomplete surface hints at the final vision, a dream frozen mid-creation, offering a quiet, contemplative pause for the observer. You can almost hear the gentle rustle of the desert wind, mixing with the soft lapping of the river against stone. It is a place that demands patience, observation, and quiet reflection. Every angle, every surface, every indentation in the granite invites curiosity. How were these monoliths intended to be moved? What ceremonies might have marked their creation? What stories did the craftsmen tell to one another as they labored in the blazing sun, their hands blistered, their bodies exhausted, yet their minds focused on eternity? The unfinished obelisks are more than stone. They are echoes of intention, whispers of human ambition, frozen in time. Even submerged, their enormity is evident, reminding you of the audacious dreams of those who came before. Walking along the quarry edge, observing the interplay of sunlight and shadow, feeling the heat of the granite and the gentle breeze, there is a quiet sense of connection across millennia, a silent conversation with people who shaped these stones with care, imagination, and devotion. As evening falls, the sky above the quarry softens into shades of amber and violet, the river reflecting the subtle hues. The obelisks, partially submerged and partially exposed, glow with the muted light of sunset, their edges softened by centuries of wind, rain, and river. The scale of the site, the silence of the river, the grandeur of these incomplete monuments, all of it merges into a serene and meditative experience, inviting you to linger in observation, imagination, and quiet wonder. The sunken obelisks of Aswan Quarry are more than relics of a bygone civilization. They are enduring lessons in patience, creativity, and the beauty of unfinished dreams. Each massive stone holds the quiet energy of ambition, labor, and the mystery of what might have been. To stand here, even in imagination, is to be wrapped in a gentle contemplative stillness, guided through time and human effort, and invited to rest in the serene majesty of these monumental stones. The forgotten obsidian temple of Tenochtitlan, hidden beneath layers of soil and time. The ruins of Tenochtitlan whisper stories few have had the chance to hear. Among these echoes lies an artifact that has captured the curiosity of historians and archaeologists alike, the forgotten obsidian temple. Obsidian, black and glass-like, was valued by the ancient Aztecs not only for its sharpness and utility, but also for its mystical properties, its reflective surface, catching the light like fragments of the night sky. And somewhere within this temple, A structured core of pure obsidian rose, reflecting both the brilliance of human craftsmanship and the deep, spiritual beliefs of a civilization long vanished. As you imagine approaching this temple, the surrounding city slowly comes into focus. Streets once bustling with market activity are silent now, overgrown, reclaimed by nature. Trees rise through what were once stone plazas, and the soft trickle of water in hidden canals adds a gentle hum to the environment. The temple itself seems almost alive, a monolith of black stone shimmering under the soft light that filters through the canopy above. You can feel the coolness of the obsidian even from afar, a contrast to the warmth of the sun, inviting quiet contemplation. Walking closer, the sheer scale of the temple begins to reveal itself. Massive slabs of obsidian have been shaped with precision, each edge sharp yet deliberate. It is clear that those who built this place dedicated enormous care and effort, shaping stone not just with skill, but with reverence. Every step taken along the pathways of the temple echoes lightly, as if the walls themselves absorb sound, creating a hush that encourages thought, reflection, and a gentle pace. The air is still, heavy with the memory of centuries. The quiet invites you to slow your breathing, to notice the smallest details in the craftsmanship, the subtle curves, the precise alignment of stone blocks, and the faint patterns carved into the obsidian surfaces. Inside, the temple opens into chambers that have survived centuries of neglect. Here, obsidian floors glint faintly in filtered light, and walls rise around you, creating a sense of solemnity. Each chamber feels carefully measured, as though designed not only for ritual or gathering, but to cultivate a certain quiet, a deliberate space for reflection. In the corners, faint markings hint at ceremonial use, perhaps altars, offerings, or sacred spaces, meant for rituals that only the priests or leaders of the city understood. These signs, though faded, whisper their secrets slowly, allowing your imagination to fill in the story at a calm pace, drawing you gently into the life of the ancient world. Stepping further into the temple, your eyes are drawn to the reflective surfaces of the obsidian. In some places, the stone is polished so smoothly that you can see faint reflections of your own figure, merging past and present. It is easy to imagine the priests, cloaked in ceremonial robes, walking these same halls, their movements deliberate and silent, carrying out rituals that aligned with the cycles of the sun and the sacred calendar. Each sound seems amplified in the silence, the tap of a foot, the rustle of a robe, the faint echo of a chant, all creating an atmosphere that is immersive, meditative, and deeply calming. The temple, though abandoned, is not devoid of life. Small plants push through cracks in the stone, and insects drift lazily through open corridors. The interplay of light and shadow across the dark surfaces of the obsidian creates a serene, almost hypnotic visual effect, perfect for slowing the mind and inviting restfulness. Time seems to stretch here, allowing for a gentle, immersive experience as you move through space, noticing details that might otherwise be overlooked. Even the air has a texture, cool and slightly earthy, carrying a faint scent of the surrounding soil, of stone warmed by sunlight and cooled by centuries of shadow. As you continue your exploration, the temple's structure begins to feel like a story told in stone. Each block, each carving, each polished surface speaks of dedication, of reverence, and of a civilization's desire to leave something enduring behind. Even without fully understanding the rituals or the people who created it, there is a sense of connection, a bridge across time, where the ancient world and the present meet quietly. The obsidian reflects light, shadows dance, and your mind wanders slowly, absorbing the intricate patterns and imagining the hands that shaped them with care. In the largest chamber, where the walls rise high and the floor is unbroken, there is a sense of solemnity and calm that is unmatched. The obsidian, still unyielding after centuries, creates a cocoon-like effect, wrapping the space in silence and encouraging gentle reflection. You can almost hear the faint hum of ceremonial instruments, the soft murmur of voices that have long since faded, each sound imagined but comforting. It is a space that invites slow breathing, soft focus, and a gradual release of the day's tension. As your mind traces the corridors and chambers, moving from the outer walls to the deepest recesses, a quiet appreciation grows for the skill of those who built it, for the purpose imbued in every stone, and for the ability of this ancient structure to endure, to whisper, and to soothe. The forgotten obsidian temple stands as a testament to human creativity, spiritual dedication, and the passage of centuries. Each moment spent imagining it draws you deeper into a calm rhythm, a gentle pace that mirrors the care with which the temple itself was created. And so, moving slowly, your journey through the obsidian temple becomes a gentle meditation. The reflective stone, the quiet chambers, the interplay of shadow and light, all work together to guide your mind into stillness. It is a place where history is felt as much as seen, where the past lingers softly, allowing the present to slow, to breathe, and to rest. In this quiet, the obsidian temple keeps its secrets, allowing only the patient, the observant, and the calm to fully experience its silent, enduring beauty.